Hello, friends and bees and friends who are also bees. I have once again forgotten to start music playing at the beginning of the stream, which is very organised. I just think that's really sexy of me that I'm useless like that, and I hope everyone appreciates it. Hello friends, and welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. This week sorry, I got distracted by a thing. When we left off last week, rather, things were going pretty okay. It all seemed to be going suspiciously well, which I suppose it's only the second playthrough. These tend to get weird at about the halfway point, which I think we've just about reached if we haven't already. But nonetheless, things are going suspiciously well, and then at the dramatic ending, in the last tip that we saw last week, we discovered that the person whose body we'd found, my internet appears to be dropping, which is not good. Close a couple things, see if that helps. Virgin Media's having issues again. I'm gonna be so pissed off. Close Discord. That helping? Not really. Well, we'll do our best. I've really closed everything I can, so yeah. Can't even close Steam, unfortunately. So I play through Steam. Oh, maybe it's picked up again. Nope. Right. Well, we'll just keep going. Basically, we discovered, I can't remember the exact situation, but the body we found had relation to somebody whose name I recognised only because I accidentally spoilt myself. Just going to check the status of my internet before we keep going, because I may have to... We seem to have gone up to green again, so... Apparently there's no known issue, so hopefully that was just a temporary thing. Oh, never mind. Whoops. Guess who forgot to turn their face cam off, and it is suddenly a head floating in the darkness. That's very sexy of me. Let's keep going, shall we? We left off at the end of chapter 4. And the achievement for the next chapter is learn Satoko's secret. So this would be great. Whoops. Let's go. I really am sorry if I'm choppy throughout. Morning, Keiichi. My, what time did you go to sleep? I didn't sleep well last night at all. My mother could tell from a single glance. I had the worst dreams. Nightmares, very ominous dreams, one after the other, again and again. The other thing that happened is, as we were going home, we asked Reina and Mion about Satoshi, who was Toko's older brother, who went missing / ran away. And Reina basically went into a trance where she was like, he was taken by Oyashiro-sama, and I know because Oyashiro-sama's spoken to me too, and Mion was like, hey, can you not mention Satoshi, please? Because she gets really upset when you do. Really, I don't know how to fix these. I suppose if I'm not It's right if I'm dropping frames, because it tends to be quite... It's not like really an animated game. My worry is that it's also dropping my voice, which is more worrisome. We'll do what we can, that's all we can do. Very ominous dreams, one after another, again and again. I woke up after each one, but could never remember a fraction of what they'd been about. But it was like those dreams were predicting something unpleasant, and I woke up in a terrible mood. Hey now. Every day has been calm and fun before today, right? Those days should continue on, unchanging. And yet, anxiety was the only emotion growing within me. Why was that? Nightmares reflect your own anxiety. They show an uneasy mind that which you wouldn't admit to normally. Yesterday, I remember the ominous conversations about Satoshi I had with Shion, Mion, and Reina. Right, my mind felt like it was in a black fog, because we talked about that. If I'd lived every day without causing a fuss, my reward would be ever more peaceful days. I understood that, so why did I cause such discord? But now that I thought about it calmly, a simple verbal slip on my part couldn't possibly change the world. Or could it? As long as I'm sorry for doing it and never talk about it again, there's nothing that anyone can blame me for, right? Besides, how would my fate possibly change just because I talked about that? Nothing was gonna change. Yeah, nothing would change. Nothing would change, nothing would change. Haha. I hate it when people start repeating stuff like that. It just gives me traumatic flashbacks. It's just kind of weird, you know? Also, absolutely digging ourselves into a hole here. That's a creepy smile. If you're still half asleep, then go wash your face. Finally chewed up enough to smile, and Mum slapped me right back down. Now I was irritated again. Tough titties, dude. There wasn't much time left for out to meet up with Raina. Frantically started to get ready to go to school. Have a good day. Watch out for cars. There's barely any cars to watch out for, in Hanamizawa anyway. Pardon me, I've got hiccups again. I dashed out the front door. Morning air was far more refreshing than the water on my face. That's right, Keiichi Maebara. If you're sorry enough about it and reflect upon your mistakes, that's enough. Now let's pull yourself together and get to school. And return to fun, enjoyable days, where everyone laughs, plays, and just has a good time. I'll be nice to Satoko as an apology too. Yeah, wasn't I supposed to be her nini until Satoshi got back? Oh, that was slightly unnerving there. Rain appeared before the background did. I thought I'd paused the music, but clearly not. There we go. Good morning, Keiichi. Reina too looked nothing like she had yesterday when she said that weird stuff. Park that mouse down where we can't see it. If I could only forget, then I could still act like nothing had happened. So I called out to her with all the energy I could muster. Hey, morning, Reina. Early as usual today. Morning. Good morning. Oh, wrong button. There was little time before the same old morning homeroom began, but Satoko and Rika were unusually absent. Maybe they went to play somewhere? However, looking over and seeing none of their things, so it looked like they really hadn't come to school. They're almost never late. Reina seemed to be enjoying herself, thinking about what their excuse for being late would be. Mion said something nonsensical as well, imagining how funny the reason they were late must have been. I'd only come to school to see their energetic faces, since I figured it would get rid of the feelings I have, but the load on my chest remained where it was. It wasn't very pleasant at all. Good morning, everyone. President, if you would. Everybody stand up. Teacher finally arrived. Then finally I heard the pitter-patter of footsteps running down the hall. Clatter. Rika was the first to run through the open door, and then Satoko didn't come. You're late, Furude. Where's Hojo? It was unusual for Rika to be late, but equally unusual for Satoko, a ball of energy, to be absent at all. Everyone's eyes were wide at this series of strange events. Satoko might be a little late. Has she come down with something? The teacher walked over to Rika and they started talking in hushed tones. I haven't come up with a voice yet for Chie. Rika's late and Satoko's absent. I guess crazy things can happen. You're right. But I wonder what has happened to Satoko. Is she sick? Why now, when I most wanted to see Satoko's energetic face? The unease that had been building since last night tightened within my chest. Keiichi, you worry too much. Sometimes girls of her age can't help but stay homesick. Mion, you're not supposed to say that around boys. Is she too young? I don't know. Mion laughed indecently. Normally I would laugh along with her, but right now I just didn't feel like it. Also, who stays homesick with a period, I say, is a person who gets literally crippling period pains and can't move sometimes. Homeroom ended, and we went to talk to Rika in the short time we had before first period started. Hey Rika, you look sad, so very sad when getting yelled at for being late. I'll make sure to pet you today. I was very aware of my gloom this morning, so I strove to keep my tone cheerful. I petted Rika's head the same way she always did, but she didn't cheer up at all. Neep. What happened to Satoko? Did she get sick? For instance, she got a fever from playing around too much yesterday. If that had been her response, I would have accepted it in a flash. But the atmosphere around Rika felt somehow heavy. It was a little weird and actually made my unease worse. Hey, come on. Certain things you can't talk to boys about. Keiichi, back to your seat. Mion, acting just like club president, pulled me back to my chair. Rika's gaze immediately fell back to her desk, and she hung her head gloomily. Rika had said something odd, that Satoko might be a little late. They were living together, weren't they? Then she would have known for sure. She wouldn't have said might. I didn't understand why she was absent, and that made me all the more anxious. Damn it, what's going on today? It's like we started off on the wrong foot, and it wasn't going to get any better. What's the matter, Keiichi? You seem pretty down this morning. Reina noticed how I looked and whispered to me while the teacher wasn't looking. Do I really seem that way? Yeah, even Reina's starting to feel down just looking at you. Thought of jokingly saying, then don't look at me, but I didn't even feel like doing that. Is it something you can tell Reina? I don't know what you're worried about, but if I can help, then you can tell me, okay? I won't tease you. Reina said this, looking me straight in the eye. Till yesterday, nothing as strange had happened, and it was a lot of fun. Huh? Reina's eyes widened for a moment, not understanding what I meant, but she remained silent and listened. It was peaceful and fun. Every day was lively. I never had any doubt things would stay that way forever. Yeah, you're right. Every day is fun. I'm sure today will be too. You sure? How do you know? Well. Reina, feeling perplexed, couldn't think of something to say. I didn't blame her. What I was trying to say seemed a little confusing, even to me. When I think about it, I've been anxious lately. Like, maybe since every day is fun, one day all of a sudden, it would get really dark, like a light bulb turned off. Keiichi's developing self-awareness. Yeah, Reina kind of understands how you feel. Reina nodded gently. We've always been taught that it wouldn't only be good things happening to us. Sometimes I'm scared of what's going on behind the fun. It's a little bit sad, but because of that, we learn to do our best to make sure that the fun never stops. I see. So it's not a bad thing that you think our fun lives might not go on forever, Keiichi. Kind of like if suddenly there was a volcanic eruption tomorrow and everyone died. Hey wait, that's terrible. If you were the only one who survived the catastrophe, Keiichi, how would you feel? Awful. In general. How would I imagine myself being that sole survivor in the ruins of Hinamizawa. Rubble and the bodies of friends lying in heaps at my feet. It was such an abhorrent sight. Was it sadder that all my friends had died? Or was it sadder that I couldn't have died with them? I didn't know which, but I'd probably cry a lot. It'd probably break my heart. First, I think I'd cry. And maybe you'd think this. It was my destiny, then I should have made sure every day before this was as fun as possible, so I had no regrets. I didn't want to consider such a horrible event to be my destiny, but I probably would think that. The fun times will end one day, and nobody knows when they will. It makes sense to live each day to the fullest, so that if it does happen tomorrow, you don't regret anything. Yeah. It's really hard to think like that. A lot of people take their everyday happiness for granted. They think tomorrow will be the same as today, so they leave things they could do today for tomorrow. They leave the kindness they could have shown today until tomorrow. Reina was usually cheerful and silly, but right now she wasn't like that at all. She was taking my trouble seriously. It was a little reassuring. Reina's a good kid. She's a really good kid. But Keiichi, you realised it. I think that's a wonderful thing. So that unease you have, I think you should keep it close to your heart. Keep my knees close? Yeah. Everyone might die tomorrow in a big catastrophe, so you should be really nice to everyone today. So when the end really does come, you don't regret it. Do you do that, Reina? Live like you would have no regrets if everyone died tomorrow? Yep. It was such a hyperbolic conversation, but Reina just gave me a nonchalant nod at the top of her head. Reina knows what it's like for the fun times to end overnight. She knows there's no proof tomorrow will be fun, even if today is. I'm living life to the fullest. Seemed like Reina perfectly understood all the anxiety I couldn't put into hiccups. On top of that, like a reliable teacher, she showed me what to do. Oh. Hey Keiichi Mibara, there's no need to cry now. Last night, I feel like I had a dream about Satoko. I don't remember what kind of dream it was, but ever since this morning I felt anxious. Because you thought seeing Satoko's energetic face would cheer you up, right? She was right on the money. If everyone had been here with smiles on their faces this morning, then the muck in my heart would have definitely been blown to smithereens. Then, if Satoko arrives, you'll have to be nice to her. Actually, it's totally fine if you play your usual pranks on each other, as long as you're having fun. Yeah, you're right. so that even if these fun days came to an end, I'd have no regrets. Wink! Couldn't tell if what Reina told me had been comforting or just made me more anxious, but it was good enough to make me think that if I saw Satoko again, I'd be honest with her. I'm burning a candle and it keeps tunneling, and I really need to try that aluminium, Jesus, I'm turning American, aluminium foil to stop it tunneling, because I'm sort of like, I want to blow it out, but it's tunneling really badly, and I can't. All my attempts to like moosh the wax in have failed, so. Lunchtime arrived, with everyone pushing the desk together like always. Satoko wasn't here. Despite that, we had bento boxes for 5 lined up on our desks. Rika had made a bento for Satoko too. Was Satoko supposed to be here before lunch? Rika was clearly acting strangely. We were talking to her, but it felt like she was too far away to hear us. I'd never seen Rika so downcast. So the rest of us started feeling down too. Hey Reina, I understood what she said before pretty well. When we were together, we were supposed to have lots of fun, so we would not have any regrets if the world ended tomorrow. Hi Pixie! Thank you very much for the resub. It is very much appreciated. I hope you're doing well, Pixie. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're keeping safe. And hanging out with the kiddies. So far, all that's happened is in-game is we had an anxiety, and then we came to school and the person we were anxious about isn't here. Also, my net is being, I think, really choppy. It looks like I keep dropping frames, so I apologise if I'm cutting out a lot. I'm not so worried about the frames dropping because this game has minimal animation, but if my voice is cutting out a lot, I'm really sorry. It seemed to come out of nowhere, and I've closed everything I can do, but Virgin Media, my ISP, isn't saying anything about issues in the area, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, that's good. It might just be that the screen gets a little choppy then, but as long as my voice is transmitting okay. Given that this is a visual novel. Yeah. I mean, it could be that Twitch is having problems. Yeah, drop frames, 9,500. It's alright, because I've only had about 3 frames so far. I really don't know. So yeah, Rika's come to school without Satoko, with whom she lives, and she's anxious about it. And yet, while I just resolved myself to do it, now we can't all be together. What the hell? Because it was just so sudden, wasn't it? I mean, yesterday was fun, so who could believe it would all end today? No volcanoes erupted, no earthquakes or fires had happened either. The cicadas were making the same noises they did yesterday, and the sun remained bright in the sky. It was the same normal day as always, so then why? As I pondered, Reina's chopsticks reached in front of my face and stole the fried chicken out of my bento. Ah, fried chicken sounds good. If no one else wants it, Reina will take it. Delicious. Hi Zora! I hope you're doing well. I hope you're looking after Pixie. And the kiddies, of course. Please give the kiddies a cuddle from me. I spent the entire day being very sad that I don't have a soft animal to pet. Ah, that sounds so good. Food sounds good. I made gnocchi for dinner and I had that for lunch today, and it was really good, but the recipe called for way too much olive oil in the sauce, so it was really greasy. And gnocchi gets a bit greasy by itself anyway, so I'm a bit weighed down by by greasy gnocchis. Reina tossed the entire piece into her mouth and began munching on it, her expression one a blitz. Such an old man. Reina got a leg up on me. Alright, this old man's taking this bit of steak here. All my food is gone except my rice. Rika, also behind the curve, smiled again and went for someone else's bento. As I sat there, dazed at how quickly everyone had changed, Reina sent a wink over to me. Come on, Keiichi, live life to the fullest. That way, if a volcano erupts tomorrow, it'll be okay. This is serious. Be damned if dried plums and rice are the only things I have left for lunch. I'm taking that meatball. I stuffed the meat into my mouth and constructed a clumsy smile, played along as if trying to fool myself, but as I did, it rapidly became less and less of an act. Oh, Reina's such a good kid. Satoko still wasn't here, but at some point we'd regained our lively lunchtime. We had fun, we smiled, and we fooled around. Thanks, everyone. This is definitely the best thing to do. This way, when Satoko suddenly dropped by, we could welcome her with our best smiles. The more I smiled, the more I felt the anxiety from this morning clearing away. Wasn't there a proverb that went something like, fortune comes in by a merry gate? I think so. If it's true, then this old man will roll around the floor laughing 24/7. Raina thinks it's true. If you laugh every day, it'll be fun every day. Raina has a way with words. Then, should we try it out? Everyone took a deep breath in, brought their faces together, locking shoulders, and then... Everyone laughed uproariously from their stomachs, trying to laugh at all the bad stuff accumulating in them. By the time our bento boxes were empty, everyone was right as rain. For now... Spooky voice. God, I like this music. Having heard our friendly banter, Tomita and Okamura walked up and timidly spoke to us. Excuse me, Maebara, sorry to interrupt your fun, but we need your help with something. They grinned dryly and scratched their heads. What could it be? Want to know how to remove the sensor bars and What? Wait, what? Seriously? That's not what we're here for, said Tomita, elbowing Okamura. Actually, our ball got caught in the gutter on the second floor. We were thinking you might be able to reach it since you're tall. I see. Asking an upper-class man for help comes with its own price, you know. I'm not cheap. You can't buy me out so easily. Tomita and Okamura conversed for a short time, then gave the reply. We'll give you the right to take a nap during class, Maebara. How does that sound? What do you mean? I can sleep during class whenever I want. Why do I need your permission for it? Oh, no you can't. Next time you take a nap, we'll tell Sensei about it. I see. How sly. You little... Why'd you learn to bargain like that? Gah. Sorry. It was just a little joke. Come on, Keiichi. Why not just cave into your underclassman's threats? And now Mion was getting on my nerves. Suddenly it came to me, and I took Tomita and Okamura's hands. Alright, I surrender. I'll get you a ball for you, so give me all the rights to nap time. Huh? Okay. Look, Mion, I now have the privilege. But you don't, do you? Tomita, Okamura, tell on Mion as soon as she falls asleep. Got it? Yeah. Reina and Rika began to cackle at Keiichi's victory. I wasn't sure how the ball managed to get stuck up there, but it was planted firmly in this school's second floor gutter. Hand me that stick. I should be able to reach it. Here we go. Ah! Took a bamboo pole and spooked the ball with it. Damn, it's hard. Come on. Oh, he got it. You got it, Maebara. Thank you so much. The ball rolled down the gutter and fell down behind the school building. My underclass men ran over in that direction, leaving me by myself. Mission complete, I guess. Sheesh. Still a lot of time left until lunch break was over. Guess I should go back to the classroom. I'd absorb myself in a silly conversation with everyone and wait for afternoon classes. Just when I thought that and turned towards the entrance, someone suddenly called out to me. Hello there, good day. Sorry for bothering you during your lunch break. Hang on one sec. Okay, my upstairs neighbours are yelling, but I can't tell what they're yelling about, so it can't be important. The fire alarm's not gone off, which is the only really important thing they would be yelling about, so... I shouldn't be surprised, this is just what they do, but still. It was a middle-aged man I didn't know. Or maybe I'd passed by him a few times and I'd seen his face, but I didn't know him. When his half-smile deepened, something within me shuddered with fear. There was no basis for that, no reason, but I shuddered. I find him really unnerving. I always have. Not necessarily in that he's a villain, but I don't think he's per se a good character. He's definitely self-interested. I was somewhat confused about these emotions, not quite understanding them myself. There was one thing I could say though. Nobody but teachers and students should be at school. This person shouldn't have been here. I felt less of a tremble and more of a sense of dread, like a brilliantly coloured poisonous caterpillar were crawling across my forehead. Feeling of disgust that neither itchy nor gross could describe, as a frizzly, dreadful hair rubbed against my brow. Didn't even want to see his face. I wanted to jump backwards and run away. An unpleasant feeling for which I didn't even know the cause. The other side of myself is nothing but questions. Hey, what are you doing? What are you disgusted by? This is the first time you met him. It's rude to hate someone for no reason. No answers were coming. I held my silence, waiting, a damp sweat running down my forehead. When he saw that, Ooishi thought maybe he was being intimidating and gave me a relaxed smile. Oh, please, excuse me. I'm no one suspicious, I assure you. I'm Ooishi, from the Okonomiya Police Department. Wait, where'd I put my card? Huh? What? This is... what? He fished through various pockets and finally found his police ID and showed it to me, grinning dryly. May have been trying to use those clumsy-seeming actions to ease my anxiety, but I could definitely say it didn't work. Why was I this nervous? He's a cop. There was a reason, of course. If I wanted today to be the same as before, then today didn't need someone who hadn't been there back then. Also, I feel like a policeman coming to your school and asking to talk to you is always unnerving, regardless of the situation. Luckily, that has never happened to me. It could have been, but it didn't. That's okay. The fact that a man who wasn't here yesterday showed up today meant that today would be a different day than those before it. That would mark the end of the fun and happy days. I gulped and erased that ominous conclusion from my mind. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. It's just an old guy who looks kind of perverted and came from the police department. Don't go deciding that the fun times are over. He just came here because of his job. Yeah, just for his job. If he's working, then he'd normally go to the teacher's lounge, right? The fact that he spoke to me, yes, it must have been to ask where it was. Are you looking for the teacher's lounge? You just have to go through the entrance and... I didn't want to look at this man for another second, so I started pushing things along. Ooishi, however, didn't seem to have any interest in the teacher's lounge. Oh, no, I don't have anything to do there. Could I get you to call a friend of yours if I may be so bold? A friend? Who? A girl. Could you call Satoko Hojo for me? My consciousness grew faint, like I was about to pass out. Yes, my anxiety was realised. The dreadful, disgusting caterpillar was looking at me, about to crawl into my ear. Its frizzly, dreadful hair was touching my ear cavity. This is such a gross description of anxiety, and yet it is so good. Like if one were to use Final Fantasy terms and describe depression as brain jellyfish, then describing octopus as a octopus. Jesus, what's wrong with me? Describing anxiety as a caterpillar that's about to crawl into your ear, and you know it's there, and there's nothing you can do about it. Fortunately, it also reminds me of a terrible meme. Imagine. That's how bad it felt. Or what do the police need with Satoko? No. It's nothing important. I just had 2 or 3 things to ask. I'd like it if you could cooperate with me. Why? Why, of all people, was it Satoko? Why would a police officer come here in the middle of the day for something that wasn't important? The smell was strange. I could smell it. And it smelled bad. Just a whiff of it made me want to grimace. But yo, man, I know that this man couldn't possibly be here to deliver her lost wallet or anything. Couldn't imagine what he needed from Satoko, but it had to be something unpleasant. Ah, my throat stung with burning pain. Burned like a parched crevice wasteland. The wasteland broke apart deep in my throat and brought out the words from deep in my mind. You may need something from her, but I don't think Satoko needs anything from you. Could you please leave? Ooishi probably hadn't expected that reply. He stood there surprised for a few moments. I did as well. I hadn't thought words like that could ever come out of my mouth. You tell him. Things might still work out. Guy may have shown up out of the blue, but if I drove him off, maybe I could make it so that it never happened. If I could do that, then I could get back to the peace we had until yesterday. I could get it back. Ha! Well, you sure are strict. Are you Satoko's manager, perhaps? Can I not see her without an appointment? Hoo-hoo. If you just want to talk to her, shouldn't you just call her? Barging into school in the middle of the day isn't normal. Breaking through a dam would have been a perfect analogy to use. Wink. Why didn't I like this man? Man shouldn't have been here. I needed to make it so that this man wasn't here. Childish, shellfish emotions bubbled up from the depths of my mind, and they each came out of my mouth just as it had been formed. Not liking the guy was my own problem, but to say things so bluntly to him, even I thought I was crazy. Oh, you're the logical sort, aren't you? I'm not too good with people who talk like that. Ooishi grinned and scratched at a sweaty throat. Even as he feigned stupidity, I could tell he was irritated. Hey, Keiichi Maebara, why am I looking for a fight with this old policeman here? It's not like he brought the gift of misfortune with him, all wrapped up in paper, right? Right. It wasn't like he had brought a package of misfortune with him and was asking me to sign here, please. Wink! Rationally speaking, I understood all that. So then why was I so... Finally, I outlasted Ooishi in a game of our silence and gave a big sigh. Then he addressed a few of my female underclassmen running around nearby. Oh, excuse me, all of you. Do you have a moment? I'd like to call Satoko Hojo if you could. My underclassmen tried to smile and reply, but they noticed the oddly stiff atmosphere around me and seemed hesitant to give a quick answer. Is she not here? Satoko Hojo? Hojo, she stayed home today. Stayed home? I'm trying my hardest to do a deeper voice for Ooishi, but I can't do it. At some point I want to try and do some voice training to try and like naturally deepen my voice, but I'm not good at it. His face remained smiling, but his tone was clearly one of ill humour. Such conspicuous spite caused my underclassman, who had answered honestly, to cringe in fear. I see. Haha. Dear me, I'm quite unlucky. He was smiling broadly, but the way he laughed didn't make me feel better at all. When he noticed that his laughter wasn't getting anyone else to laugh with him, he immediately stopped. So, you girls, could you tell me the name of this boy here? He grabbed the girls by the shoulders so they wouldn't run away and crouched down to address them at eye level. The girls flinched away from the sharp, piercing light in his eyes. In exchange for their release, they didn't resist and told him my name. I see. Keiichi Maebara, is that it? He said my full name. That was all he said, and yet I couldn't help but shudder. It was like he grabbed me by the collar just with those words. Oh, could you be the son of the Maebara family I've heard so much about? I hear your father is a renowned artist. His works go on display twice a year in the Great Exhibition in Tokyo, don't they? I don't know what sort of fantastic pictures it creates, though. Then there's your mother. She seems intelligent, too. I heard she was a high academic achiever. She went to some girls' university, didn't she? It's amazing for someone that age to have graduated from a girls' university. Could your mother actually be the daughter of the respectable family? At least those are the rumours, and they say she's a cold person because of it. Did you know that? She only went to the very first neighbourhood association meeting, right? That's certainly no good. You can't disrespect your neighbours in a place like this. A sense of eeriness slithered up my spine. That was my first experience of true terror. I couldn't believe it felt this terrible for someone you just met to know everything about you already. Ooishi clamped onto my shoulders and brought his eyes close to peer into mine. In a place like this, it would be far better not to make enemies, wouldn't it? If not... Ow! Ooishi dug into my shoulders with unhuman strength. Ah! Then if something unexpected were to happen, you might see some drawbacks. Have you ever heard of karma? It's like how a butterfly flapping its wings can cause a tornado. Grudges born in strange places can come back to you in ways you wouldn't believe. You wouldn't like that, would you? Nobody wants to have a grudge held against them. There's nothing positive about making enemies. What's the matter? Your shoulders are very stiff. Should I give you a massage? See? Feels good, right? Ow, 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 ow. Produce brutality, man. Man wasn't just strong, it was like he knew exactly where to press to make me feel pain. Only 4 or 5 fingers were on my shoulders and yet the pain made me want to bend over backwards. A few of the girls from my class were pretty shaken up, but didn't seem to want to help me. They weren't sure if they should go call the teacher. As for me, I couldn't take the time to wait until the teacher got here. It hurts. Would you mind leaving things at that? You're hurting him. Behind Ooishi, someone. To my disbelief, it was the coach. Oh my, if it isn't Dr. Irie. Certainly has been a while since we were last in touch. Discomfited by Coach's sudden appearance, Ooishi laughed scornfully. The vice on my shoulders, however, remained as strong as ever. Never mind the greetings. Please, just let go of Maebara. Ooishi smiled daringly and glared straight at Coach. He didn't release me in the meantime, of course. I was just thinking of stopping by your place later, Doctor. You always seem so busy and we can never have a good chat. Yes. If you want, I'll chat with you all you like, but please be sure to have a warrant first. After all, otherwise, I can refuse to go voluntarily into questioning. Coach didn't display a shred of the weird behaviour he'd shown at the baseball game or barbecue. He stared steadily at Ooishi and fought so that he'd release me. His chances were terribly bad, of course. Compared to the relaxed Ooishi, Coach seemed like he was being defeated mentally. It made sense. Coach had a somewhat narrow stature, but Oishi's body was packed with muscles. It wasn't even a contest, but Coach was fighting for me without taking a step back. Beads of sweat formed on his face, and though he paled, he was fighting for my sake. Suddenly Ooishi laughed and let go of my shoulders. My body exhausted, I fell right at my backside. Maebara, are you alright? Damn it, ow! I rubbed my shoulders where Ooishi had latched onto them. The pain from falling over went away quickly, but this pain was lingering. Are you alright, Maebara? This is terrible. Shh, ow, ow, ow. I was just giving him a little massage. Maebara, aren't you over-exaggerating a bit? Boys have got to learn to man up. Wanted to retort, but I couldn't think of anything witty. Can you lift your shoulders? Are they in pain? If you're really hurt, then you can have a proper checkup. Let's just go to the nurse's office. Coach lent me a shoulder and walked beside me. What an exaggeration. I'd be the last person to do any sort of permanent damage, right? I'm still an active police officer, you know. And if you're American, you can get away with it, so it's fine. Come, I don't know what you needed to be here for, but if you're finished, then please leave. I'm going to complain about this directly to the chief, so please keep that in mind. Oh, that's a problem, ain't it? Thank goodness for Irie, huh? Ooishi waved his hand around sarcastically, pivoted around and headed to the car parked by the school gates. Without turning back around, he got in and started the engine. Damn it. Who the hell was he, damn it? He's a detective named Karada Ooishi, and a hooligan. Everyone in the village hates him. Maebara, you should be careful too. Karada Ooishi? Just like I thought, my gut instinct wasn't wrong. He'd be the one. The one to bring unhappiness, misfortune, something that would ruin our peace. And your shoulders. Shit, I won't accept it. All these fun days can't possibly end just because some guy like him showed up. I won't accept it. Coach seemed to be familiar with the school, so he brought me to the nurse's office without much trouble. The girls from my class came along as well, looking worried. Our teacher and the principal, having noticed the disturbance, came to see what was the matter. Maebara, what's wrong? Are you hurt? Well, there was this weird man in the schoolyard just now, and Maebara... Coach gently interrupted the girls, trying to explain. No, it looks like he just fell and twisted something. I think he's alright, but I wanted to make sure. If it's fine with you, I'll borrow the nurse's office for a bit. Please do, Dr. Irie. The principal gave him a deep bow. It looked like Coach was acquainted with the adults at school. He slid open the door to the nurse's office, but there was no nurse in there or anything. I figured. I'd never seen anyone but Chie-sensei and the principal working here. Miss Chie, I should say. Coach didn't seem to mind the fact there was no nurse, and quickly made his way into the nurse's office. He instructed me to sit down and started washing his hands in the sink. Oh, I get it. He's the coach for the boys' baseball team. He must be pretty used to treating wounds with first aid. Could you show me where it was? Are you still in pain? No, it doesn't hurt at all anymore. I'm fine, really. I rolled up my shirt and shouldered my shoulder. No bruise, not even nail marks, and yet it hurt so much I thought my shoulders would be crushed. Even the pain had disappeared without a trace. It hurt so much, but not so much the bruise remained. Just means he's used to doing that. Used to it, huh? Next time you meet, don't provoke him. Nothing good will come of making him angry. If you go home with uniformed policemen by your side, your family won't like that, will they? Well, you're right. Still, what happened? Why'd you end up in a fight with him? He came up and said he needed something from Satoko. Huh? Satoko? Coach's gaze lowered and his expression clouded a little bit. Somehow that gesture seemed to be saying Ooishi was bound to come to Satoko and did, and that it was no laughing matter. Coach fell silent and thought. Quietly he took a compress out of the first aid kit and put it on me. Does he still plan on clinging to Satoko? He's a persistent man, I'll give him that, like a snake. Coach mumbled to himself. Cling? Does that Ooishi guy go to Satoko's place a lot? Coach didn't answer, but the lack of denial served well enough. What on earth did the policeman, probably a detective or something, need from Satoko? What mistake had led a detective to cling to the sweetly smiling Satoko? Maebara. Oh, right, you just moved here, didn't you? Yes, I did, but... Have you heard anything about Oyasha-sama's curse and about Satoko? Well, I knew a few things about it, certainly. Satoko's parents were dam proponents, and their accidental death was because of the curse. You mean that? Yeah. Coach smiled thinly and dryly. So you know, he said, dropping his gaze. If I recall correctly, there was an accident on a viewing platform at the public park she'd gone to with her family and her parents died. And then it was just big brother and little sister. And then she was with Rika and, when they lost their parents, Satoko and her brother, Satoshi, were given to their uncle and his wife to care for them. Oh, is that so? Parents died in the accident and Satoshi ran away, leaving only Satoko to start living with Rika. I know that much, but this is the first time I'd heard they'd been brought to their uncle and aunt. Their uncle was Satoko's father's younger brother. Unfortunately, neither of the couple were people deserving of respect. Coach normally picked his words politely, so when he came out and said they didn't deserve respect, it really made me wonder what kind of people they were. As soon as Satoko's parents came out and supported the dam, their uncle and aunt took on a lot of shame in the village as well. They would never have welcomed in Satoko and Satoshi. I've heard that for the siblings it was a very rough life. Bit by bit, Coach told me about the numerous agonies the Hojo siblings had suffered at their uncle's house. As the guardians, the aunt and uncle sucked up everything belonging to the immediate family. Satoko and Satoshi were crammed into a small room, and their lives were laden with things that were miserable for both bodies and minds. In the first place, it's apparently the aunt and uncle weren't on good terms. There was no end to their fighting. As if in revenge for that, whenever they saw Satoko or Satoshi's face, they would always find fault with them, scold them, yell at them, strike them, and take away meals as punishment. I still shudder to think about it. You've never known any Satoko but the energetic and healthy one now, so you probably couldn't imagine her face being so deathly pale, a girl always standing dazed in the shade of trees. I couldn't imagine it, and I didn't want to. That was how I honestly felt. But at the very least, Satoko wasn't like that anymore. She may have had a miserable life in the past, but it was different now. Something happened to change that life. Last year, on the night of the Tatarigoroshi festival, their aunt died. She was beaten to death by a deviant with a baseball bat. Rumours spread of the curse having killed an enemy of the village on the night of the festival. This death wasn't a simple homicide either. They whispered that it was actually Oyashiro-sama's curse. A few days later, the deviant arrested for drug use confessed to further offences, and the incident was resolved. However, though it was resolved, no one knew whether the part about it being Oyashiro-sama's curse was true or not. Beaten to death with a baseball bat, you say? Their uncle was part of Hinamizawa after all. He apparently grew incredibly frightened of Oyashiro-sama's curse and went into hiding. From what I've heard, he's staying with an intimate lady friend somewhere in Okonomiya. And Satoko and Satoshi, were they released? The aunt died and their uncle fled. There was nobody left to torment the siblings, but then, as if picking up their torch, that man started showing up with alarming tenacity. That man? Then Coach lowered his voice just a bit, as if being aware of his surroundings. I mean, Ooishi. Ooishi? The guy from before. The events that just occurred came back to me. The hard-to-describe ominous sensation I'd felt from him came back to me. He's a little strange. Chain of incidents surrounding Oyashiro-sama's curse have all been solved, and yet he alone doesn't want to accept that. Accept it? The incidents were all solved, and a detective supposedly with the police department didn't accept that? People say that something bad will surely happen to those he gets close to. In Hinamizawa, they think that Ooishi is Oyashiro-sama's... Keiichi! The door flew open with a rattle and Mion came rushing in. Reina and Rika came running in a few steps behind her, and then Tomita, Okamura, and a few more of our classmates. Keiichi, did Ooishi do something to you? Are you hurt? Calm down, Mion. He's not injured. I only gave him a compress just in case. Keiichi, are you really okay? Okay? Everyone was saying stuff about how you were being strangled. Calm down, Reina. He just squeezed my shoulders really hard. See, there's not even a bruise. Meep. Jeez, what the heck were you all doing? We're friends, right? Why were you just standing around? Why didn't you help Keiichi? We're sorry, President. Mion yelled at her classmates, baring her fangs. Tomita and the others hung their heads in silence. Quit it, Mion. Tomita and the others weren't even there. Stop blaming them. Damn it! Ooishi! Mion kicked the floor with a heel a few times, her temper running hot. A teacher, overhearing the commotion, arrived as well. Hey, come on, everyone. Don't make so much noise in the nurse's office. President, take everyone and leave, please. Come on, everyone. Let's get going. Keiichi is fine. You too, Mion. Mion was letting her emotions get the best of her, so Reina stepped in and said and led everyone out of the nurse's offices. The detective from Okonomiya Station, Kurata Ooishi, looked like the first impression I'd gotten from him hadn't been mistaken. Soko's absence had amplified the vague apprehensions I'd felt since yesterday, and Oishi's appearance basically sealed the deal. You know when you got an itch on the side of your mouth and it's really annoying? I'm in hell. Alright, I'll get going. I originally came here for Chie. Ah, so you had something to do here. Sorry for causing you trouble. Don't be so humble, he said, smiling easily. There was a side benefit to all of this. I was lucky enough to experience... gross. With the usual, for Coach anyway, parting words, he instead continued. Please excuse me. You weren't wounded badly, but please avoid putting pressure on your shoulders or anything along those lines. If you get a high fever or it starts to swell, contact me right away, okay? I don't think it'll happen, though. Oh, that's right, Coach. Before everyone came in, you were going to say something about what people think Ooishi is to Oyashiro-sama. As he was about to leave the nurse's office, Coach placed a hand on the door and stopped. Right. They think he's Oyashiro-sama's servant. They're just bad-mouthing him, though. Oyashiro-sama's servant? Do you know about the serial freak death incidents that occur in Hinamizawa every year on the night of the Tatarigoroshi festival, otherwise known as Oyashiro-sama's curse? What freak deaths? What? Now that I thought about it, I did seem to remember overhearing Mion or someone in class talking about it like a ghost story. On the festival day in June, one person would always die and another would be spirited away, but they seem to call it demoning away here. What a fine story that was. I figured they made it up to scare me, but it was true? I don't have any idea who first suggested this, but at some point everyone started calling Ooishi Oyashiro-sama's servant. Why? Because the rumours go that he decides the sacrifices for the curse every year. Whenever June came around, Ooishi would start paying frequent visits to Hinamizawa, because Ooishi had been persistently questioning most of the dead or disappeared people. 4 years ago, it was known that the victim of the dismemberment, rumored to be the sacrifice, had been seeing Ooishi numerous times leading up to the incident. Sacrifices 3 years ago were Satoko's parents. Right before their accidental deaths, Ooishi had apparently visited their home. The one who disappeared 2 years ago was Rika's mother, and again, people knew that before she vanished, Ooishi had been talking to her extremely frequently. The one who disappeared last year, Satoko's older brother, Satoshi. Satoshi too had apparently been approached by Ooishi many times before he vanished. And then this time, Ooishi was trying to contact Satoko? This isn't a freaking joke. They're rumours, Maebara. There's just some rumours to that effect. I hadn't said that because of the rumours of Ooishi being Oishiro-sama's servant, or as contacting someone foreshadowing who'd be the sacrifice this year. It's just the ominous hatred I felt towards Ooishi was becoming more substantiated, more real. Today, Satoko, she was absent today. Wait, really? That looked like news to Coach. I thought he might have known why Satoko was absent today, but... Then I'll get going. You should go back to the others and put their minds at ease. You're right. I will. Clatter. Coach left the nurse's office and headed towards the teacher's lounge. Thump, 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 thump. Thump, 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 thump. Thump, thump, thump. I did a really good job of making Ooishi unnerving. You new tips. The Hojo family. Every year, Oishiro-sama's curse claims 2 victims. This means that with 4 years in a row, there have been 8 now, but it's worthwhile to note half of them have been members of this family. Note, the curse in the second year, certain falling incident, involved the death of Hojo, a dam proponent, and the disappearance of his wife. She was pronounced dead the following year after being considered to have vanished under perilous circumstances. The curse in the 4th year involved the death of the Hojo siblings' aunt, who was then their foster mother, and the disappearance of the elder brother. The Hojo family is a poor one, and it's hard to say Mr. Hojo's job went very well. Apparently, upon re-employment via family connections, there was a plan for them to return to the home of the mother's side of the family. For Mr. Hojo, the victim due to Hinamizawa Dam project and the payment of a large amount of compensation money was essentially a windfall. Mr. Hojo aggressively accepted the Ministry of Construction's negotiations from an early stage and selected others from Hinamizawa who were also dam proponents. It was assumed he'd been bought out by the Ministry of Construction for doing so, but the truth is unknown. However, the dam proponents were the vastly outnumbered minority. In addition, as the Sonozaki family strengthened its own foundation and promised support against the dam, all the proponents, save for Mr. Hojo, switched over to the anti-dam side. At this point, Hinamizawa was completely united against the dam, and Mr. Hojo was held up to ridicule as a stooge of the dam project's proponents. He was essentially used as a scapegoat for the anti-dam coalition. The thing is, like, obviously it's bad that they're like, yeah, we're just gonna, move you all out and flood your town, but can you blame him? Like, fuck the police and all that, but if he's struggling to make ends meet in the current situation, I don't think he can be blamed for wanting to change that situation, regardless of the fact that the situation involves the destruction of an entire village. I don't know. I can't sanction the dam project, but I also can't blame him for wanting to be able to survive, because clearly the life he's currently experiencing isn't helping, compared to people like Mion and the Sonozaki family, for example, who seem to be, well, there's a lot of businessmen, so she's got a big house, they're very well connected, they're very comfortable, they're essentially gangsters, or some of them are at least, and even compared to Rika's family, who, although, they may be vilified for what they do, or their lack of action, she commands a lot of respect, especially amongst the older villagers, because of her status almost as the religious leader. So they Mion and Rika both are coming at it from a sort of period of intense privilege compared to Satoko. In the end, the dam project clacked with the Oishiro-sama's curse and the dismemberment incident. However, punishment towards the bitter enemy supporting the dam project continues to this day. There are not many left today who supported the dam project, nor who had a negative reputation at the time. If there are any candidates left for the curse, it's the husband of the housewife who was beaten to death last year, Teppei Hojo, and Mr. Hojo's daughter, Satoko Hojo. Strangely, these two are the only candidates left. Would this year's curse come down on the two of them? There's more than enough value in observing them both. I don't understand why Satoko should suffer for her older mother, her mother's or her parents' bad decisions. I need to stop fucking about with my I keep like wiggling my chair and then wobbling my PC tower when it's dislodged a USB cable, so I need to not do that. To Ooishi. There was a call for you from Section 4's Chief Shigeharu. Apparently the slaughtered corpse in the Ojikawa River is related to the S group as we thought. We're still verifying what happened behind the scenes, but apparently the deceased filled up dozens of self-created fictional bank accounts to their limits with money from the S group, reaching around 100 million yen. S group, I'm presuming, is Sonozaki. It appears that 3 or 4 men with former S group connections involved in this. They've already disappeared along with millions of yen. The deceased was tortured on that point for information, and she was clearly slaughtered as an example to others. There are apparently some real wizards chasing down the people who disappeared. They're also spreading letters to related Yakuza groups not to harm them. There's still no evidence that Teppei Hojo is one of those people. From what Chief Shigeharu has seen, nothing's been announced. For such a dependent, the man wasn't trusted at all. Teppei Hojo has left his apartment in Okonomiya and has returned to his former residence in Hinamizawa. So I guess she and 4 men were siphoning money, and then she was killed by the Sonozaki family for revenge, and Teppei has run away. My worry is that he will use hold Satoko over Mion. I wholeheartedly want to protect her. I wanted more than anyone else what was best for her. These emotions born from kindness eventually became murderous intent. My pure white intention stained in red and black. Dun dun dun. By the way, things start going downhill from here. And even as I understood that it meant the destruction of the day-to-day life I so wanted to protect. Tatarigoroshi. Where did I go wrong? Looking for the answer. The tragedy spreads ever wider. Tatarigoroshi, by the way, it translates to... Tatarigoroshi... Oh, whoops, wrong button. Translation. Tatarigoroshi is translated as curse killing. Is Hojo staying home today too? Furude, do you know anything? The teacher's voice wasn't critical, but Rika hung her head, unable to answer, and I felt really bad for her. By the way, the achievement for this one is plain to see, met someone's relative. The teacher called Rika up and they had an exchange in hushed tones at the day. At first, Rika said that Satoko's fever had grown worse, but everyone in class knew it was a lie, because every day Rika brought Satoko's bento with her. Satoko, I wonder what happened. Don't ask me. I'm the one who wants to know most of all. It was already the 3rd day since Satoko's first absence. Ever since then, I haven't felt good. Until just last Sunday, everything had been so much fun. I'd reached out to Satoko like a real older brother, and we spent that time quietly, but warm and comfortable. So why'd it suddenly been flipped over? The more I thought about it, the more I thought that the world had taken a turn for the worse ever since Ooishi arrived. Thinking on it now, maybe the strange apprehensions plaguing me the night before Ooishi arrived had been a sign. Kurado Ooishi, Oyashiro-sama's servant? Shit, that's impossible. I can't decide Satoko will be the curse victim this year just because he showed up. Just what sort of slip-up had I committed to cause those fun times to end so suddenly? Yes, it was the day before Ooishi appeared. Shion, Mion, and Reina had spoken of the curse surrounding Satoshi and his disappearance, and it was so sinister it gave me a bad premonition. Such a small thing was a slip-up that invited Oyashiro-sama's servant. It was absurd. I kept on groaning to myself that I'd never accept it, ever. This candle is only tunneling worse and worse. Right, I'm gonna blow it out, and tomorrow I'm gonna fix this shit. Get some tinfoil out and try that, see if that fixes it. The problem, this is a complete aside, with candles tunneling is that if you don't burn it all the way out to the side and blow it out, it sort of sets at a melt point in the wax, which is why it basically is like an artificial wall. So it will start burning down and not all the way out. and then it gets smaller and smaller each time, and it's really annoying. And so I'm hoping I'll be able to fix it with some tinfoil tomorrow. I think what the tinfoil does is it reflects the wax, it reflects the heat back down onto the wax, so it forces it to go down, as opposed to coming out, I think is how it works. I kept on groaning to myself that I never accept it ever. I obviously wasn't the only one suppressing my feelings. Mion and Reina were too. Everyone in the class was doing it. Rika knew something about Satoko's situation, but she wouldn't tell us. Rika still had a certain calm attitude, like a cat basking in the sun, but she was being unbelievably stubborn about this whole thing. She didn't want to tell us, and that wouldn't change no matter how many times we asked her. Everyone understood that, so nobody questioned her. If Rika won't talk, then we just have to wait, and she might not be talking because it's something not worth saying. There was no persuasive power in reassurance given with an anxious face like that. Mia was being taciturn and just looked up at the sky with somehow annoyed expression. Couldn't tell if she was unhappy that Rika wouldn't talk about it with her own friends, or if she was concerned over Satoko's well-being. And what about me? My anxiety was suffocating me day after day. If someone else were looking at me, then maybe I'd look annoyed, like Mion did. Tap tap. Someone tapped my shoulder. It was Tomita and Okamura. Maebara, do you have a minute? Did your ball get stuck again? You guys have to get it yourself this time. Don't rely on older kids for everything. Didn't feel like going along with them, so I was a little unsympathetic with my response. We heard a little interesting rumour. A rumour? Yeah, I just thought it might have something to do with that. A rumour? About Satoko. They hadn't said that, but it didn't seem unrelated. They didn't want to talk in the classroom, so they pulled me behind the school building, lending further credence to that thought. The back of the school was damp and humid, like always. Students didn't really come here because they wanted to. It might, however, have been the ideal location for trading rumours away from prying eyes. Tomita, Okamura, these rumours, they're about why Satoko is absent, right? We don't know if that's something to do with it, though, or maybe. What on earth happened to Satoko? Is she sick? Or could she be, like, really sick or injured or something? No, actually, it's the opposite. I heard my grandma saying that she came to buy tofu at a shop yesterday. Oh, Tomita's family runs the tofu shop, added Okamura. She went shopping to buy some tofu? My voice sounds so stupefied, even I can tell. It was understandable. I was worried about what grave illness or injury she had, when the person herself had been out and about shopping for tofu. How was she? Did she look okay? Was she wearing a mask like she was getting better? Or was she using crutches, or did she have bandages on her? No, there wasn't really any signs of sickness or injuries on her, but I should have felt relieved that there wasn't illness or injury, but my anxiety wasn't going away, because Tomita and Okamura's expressions weren't looking any better. She apparently came to buy one piece of soft tofu, but my grandma said it was strange. Strange? Why? What's wrong with buying soft tofu? Irritated by how roundabout they were being, I had to desperately fight that irritation from creeping into my voice. Well, Hojo and Frude live by themselves and they don't have that much money, right? So they never buy the cheaper, firmer kind of tofu. They've never bought the soft stuff. It's the most expensive thing there. Soft or hard, they're both tofu, right? Maybe she just wanted to eat some great tofu or something. Well, maybe, but I knew how transparent I sounded right then. This wasn't anything trivial, it was some kind of important clue. Not the cheap firm tofu, but the expensive soft kind. Shopping not in the evening after school, but in the middle of the day. I couldn't figure out what those things meant. As I thought hard about it, Okamura took his turn to speak. Me next. This is just a rumour, but apparently he's back. He? Who? Who's back? Hojo's uncle. Satoko's uncle? Right. Coach told me about him. Their aunt and uncle had taken them in after Satoko and Satoshi lost their parents in the accident. Hojo's uncle. They he skipped town last year, scared of Oyasho-sama's curse. He's really scary and violent, like a gang member. Everything Coach told me came back in bits and pieces. Right. The mean aunt and uncle who tormented them all the time. I think he said that after their aunt was beaten to death by the deviant, he ran away to his lover's house in Okonomiya in fear of the curse. Why would she be staying home from school and shopping for soft tofu in the middle of the day just because her uncle came back? My underclassmen climbed up and looked downwards. There must have been some big hint buried in there. Even if I didn't understand, if I told Mion or Reina about it, maybe they'd know something. Oh, my bad, you two. You were nice enough to talk about it, and I started hammering you with questions. No, it's okay. Now we know that she hasn't been in bed this whole time, gravely ill. That's worth something, right? That might be true, but it still won't. It won't make the clouds over my mind fade away. Ah, Maebara, over there! Okamura cried wildly, pointing at my shoulders behind me. Startled, I turned around, and way on the other side of the schoolyard, near the school gate, I saw a figure trudging forth. Ah! It's Hojo. I burst into her arm faster than I could speak, so that as quickly as possible I could see with my own eyes that she was okay. Satoko! Satoko seemed taken aback by my shouting and running over to her. Oh, my, what is it, Keiichi? You surprised me with all the yelling and running. Stupid, enough about me already. 3 days. What happened, Satoko? I was so worried. Oh, what a worrywart. It was only 3 days. You're such a worrywart, Keiichi. From listening to her, she seemed like the normal Satoko, but I could clearly tell she was acting strangely. Her smile was somehow forlorn, and her complexion was bad for some reason. Hojo. Were you alright? Were you sick or something? Tomita and Nakamura both expressed their concerns. Just what happened anyway? 3 days. Do you know how worried I was? Oh, I do so apologise. I was just giving the house a good cleaning. We haven't used it for a rather long time, so everything was covered in dust. Huh? Satoko, what are you talking about? Why would you have to stay home from school to clean the house? Satoko didn't answer me, and she had said she passed me by and headed for the entrance. Gosh, it is nearly about lunchtime, is it not? I'm just starving. Certainly lunch break. Couldn't force her to stop after she told me she wanted lunch since she was so hungry. Well, whatever. Rika's been bringing your lunch for 3 days now. You look like you can eat it today. Let's just go to the classroom and put everyone's minds at ease. You're right. I suppose I may have caused everyone to worry. Oh, it sure is tough being popular. Satoko! I put a hand on Satoko's shoulder and we ran to the classroom together. Up close, I was able to verify that Satoko looked somehow weak. All this anxiety was supposed to go away when I saw her again. That's what I'd thought. But now, I actually started to have quite different fears. What the heck happened, Satoko? Everyone in the class, of course, reacted in the same exact way I had. We worried about you. I'm glad to see you well. What were you doing for 3 days? Our classmates showered her in questions. I truly do apologise for causing a fuss. Oh. As she cackled, she chowed down on the bento that Rika had made for her. Those in the teacher's lounge must have been informed of Satoko's arrival, because our teacher sprinted into the classroom, her breath ragged. Hojo! Oh, Sensei. Teacher, I'm sorry for worrying you for 3 days. Oh ho, as you can see, I'm fit as a fiddle. My, I was very worried about you. When you're done eating, come right to the teacher's lounge. I have a lot to talk to you about. I must be in for a good scolding for those 3 days I cut class. Satoko laughed sheepishly, while she scratched her head and the rest of the class burst out into laughter. Teacher was acting angry, but she breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing Satoko healthy and smiling as she ate her lunch with the class surrounding her. What a relief, right, Reina? Huh? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm glad she's okay. I looked at Reina and knew. She had a sense that something about Satoko was off too. I looked to see Mion detached from the camera as well, with a somewhat grim expression. I suppose the 3 of us are probably the most mature people there, so... But Rika, on the other hand, was smiling from ear to ear. She spread out the bento boxes one by one as Satoko finished them. Finally, Satoko was satisfied, Jesus, and after enjoying a thorough conversation with her classmates, remembered she'd been called to the teacher's lounge. It's such a pain, but I think she'll be angry if I don't go. I'll go with you. Satoko rose from her seat, and Rika ran over to her. I do apologise, Keiichi. I'll be right back after getting scolded. Right, I mean, I could go with you too. We're all comrades in getting scolded in the teacher's lounge, ever since the curry incident, right? That won't be necessary. Keiichi should mind the place while we're away. Rika's words were gentle, but the firm rejection was clear in her eyes. The 2 of them exited into the hallway, walking shoulder to shoulder. After seeing them off, the class breathed a collective sigh of relief, broke apart and went back to the usual lunch break banter. We, however, couldn't go back to how we usually were. Not I, not Mion, and of course not Reina. They stared at the classroom exits Satoko and Rika had left through, their expressions a little distant and grim. We're all friends, isn't that right? I blurted out something strange, so Mion and Reina turned around with dubious expressions. I won't keep anything from my friends, so I'll tell you what I just heard a little while ago. I told them the stories I heard from Tomita and Nakamura earlier about the tofu shop and how Satoko's uncle had apparently come back, all at once without letting them speak. And that's all I know, so if either of you knows anything, please say so. I've said everything I can. I ended my sentence firmly and looked into Mion and Reina's eyes in turn. Reina stared right back at me. Her eyes didn't falter. Without even opening her mouth, I could tell she wasn't hiding anything. Then our gazes turned to Mion. It's not like I was trying to keep it a secret or anything. Mion couldn't seem to endure our silent stares and began to talk timidly as if she was guilty of something. It's just, now that you've said something, Keiichi, I guess I have to talk about it. Mion, you know something? Well, I mean, I knew from the first day that Satoko's uncle had come home. That he just randomly showed up in Hinamizawa last Sunday. Why didn't you tell us that? I'm sorry. My angry shout caused Mion to flinch away, look down, and hang her head uncomfortably. Keiichi, it's nothing to get angry about. You're scaring Mion. Oh, sorry I shouted at you. I lowered my head in apology. Mion accepted it, collected herself, and continued. According to her, her uncle's relationship with his lover, whom he had been with in Okonomiya, had collapsed. Without anywhere to go, he went back home to Hinamizawa, and on that Sunday, the day of the barbecue, her uncle ran into Satoko and brought her back to the house. Why did he bring her with him? Because he's a good-for-nothing slob. He can't even cook by himself, much less do any cleaning. But he brought Satoko back to have her cook and clean? I remember that she said she'd been cleaning the house when I met her back at the school gate. A moment later, the pieces fell into place, into the jigsaw puzzle of unease. And as for what the puzzle depicted when I saw it from afar, I could see the answer clearly. Satoko was locked up at home and tormented into doing her housework. Those are the rumours. If you knew that, why didn't you speak up? I nearly yelled that at Mion, but hastily stopped myself. Mion, is that true? I haven't seen it myself, so I don't know if it's true or not. Mion looked down again and, staring at the floor, grew quiet. Just like last year? Like when they lived with their mean uncle and his wife? But this uncle is completely helpless when it comes to housework, right? If Satoko's that important, then there wouldn't be any reason to torment her, would there? Keiichi, I don't know what grounds you have for saying that, but you shouldn't be so irresponsible. Reina clearly and directly got mad at me. You don't know much about this, so don't talk as though you do. Yes, that's clearly what you meant. Fine then, do you know something, Reina? I don't know anything either. I didn't know her uncle had taken her to the house until hearing it just now, but the situation is different from a year ago. The situation is different. What does that mean? Satoshi isn't here. Satoshi really cared about his little sister. He always stuck up for her. He was a shield, so she'd be affected just a little less by their mean aunt and uncle's fighting. The mean uncle and Satoko are the only ones living there now. Can't you imagine how stifling that must be, Keiichi? He only even came back because the lady he was depending on vanished and he couldn't look after himself. Do you think a person who came back for such an unpleasant reason would be able to treat Satoko kindly? She was right. It wasn't easy for me to imagine Satoko not being tormented. Sorry. Oh, no, I'm sorry too. I sounded like I was interrogating you, didn't I? An awkward atmosphere floated amongst us. The three of us remained silent and just stared at the floor. Finally, we heard the principal's bell ringing. The teacher came back with Satoko and Rika at her side. All right, we're starting afternoon class. Class president, please. Everybody stand up. Oh, I'm sorry. How rude of me. I couldn't read anything from Satoko's vaguely sheepish expression, but given the clouded look Rika was wearing behind her, it was tough to laugh off the disquieting story I'd heard from Mion. Alright, first time in a while everyone's been here. Let's all have a roaring good time with the whole club. Perfect. Indeed, in times like this, the best thing to do is obviously get rowdy and scheme against one another in a club activity. Just what I was waiting for. Hey, Satoko, let's play. There was that game you liked, wasn't there? What was it again? Doesn't matter which. Tell me? Tell me! Mion laughed happily, took a bunch of games out of the club locker and lined them up on the desk. I think that was the first time Mion's ever let someone else decide on a game for her. Could tell she was being especially considerate to Satoko, thinking that whatever her circumstances, if we could just enjoy our time together as a group, that might be some comfort, some diversion. Satoko seemed to understand her feelings too and smiled vaguely, though pleased, but her head slowly moved from side to side. I'm very grateful, but your feelings are enough. There are many things I need to do, so... Even Rika hung her head in remorse. Whoa, seriously? All the club members are here for once and we're not playing anything? Desertion in the face of the enemy. What was the punishment game for it? What part of the club constitution was that in? Stop it, Mion. We can't force her to play with us. Hey, this old man isn't trying to force her anything. Just thought it would be more fun for sure if he did something exciting. Really, I'm happy you feel that way. Don't worry, next we meet, you'll see. I'll get you all caught in a gigantic trap. Ho ho. Satoko, while insulting us, still said she couldn't participate in the club today and apologised. She quickly put her things into her bag and pattered out into the hallway, disappearing. It all happened in the blink of an eye. My hands are so cold. Satoko. Rika stared lonesomely as her friend hurried home, unable to be part of the club activities. Sudden silence filled the classroom. Both the cheerful voices of our classmates in the schoolyard and the voices of the cicadas sounded like they were coming from some faraway world. This is boring. Silence was broken by Mion's bitterness as she began putting the games on the desk back into the locker. Everyone just stared absently at Satoko's seat, now empty. Rika, maybe you could tell us about it now? Reina made as gentle a smile as she possibly could and spoke softly to Rika. Even without hearing it from her, we pretty much knew the situation at this point. Satoko's uncle had broken up with his lover and come home to Hinamizawa, and he'd taken Satoko back home and forced her to do all the household work, and that all had to be pretty rough on her. Thinking this is common knowledge to everyone, I skipped to the important part. How's the situation? Maybe Mion and Reina wanted to ask the same question. Nobody spoke. We all just stared, waiting for Rika's reply. Rika still didn't answer us. We were hoping for her to say no, but her silence was a bad enough sign. Last year, was it? It was like this when both his uncle and wife were here, right? Yeah, at the time they were mostly just being caught between the aunt and uncle fighting. One of the ways we helped out was with the club by reducing her time at home as much as we could, but he's making her do the chores now, so she can't stay at school either. Shit. Satoko's not a slave? Who do you think you are, ignoring your own inability to live properly and basically putting Satoko under house arrest? Oh man. When you think about it, isn't this really strange? We need a lot of circumstantial evidence, but it's a problem, right? Can't we notify the police or something? You're right. If we had evidence she was being abused, I think we could tell the police, and can't we talk to Okonomiya's welfare people about this? Reina and I kept saying police, as though it were nothing, but Mion's response sounded like she thought we were a little naive. It's easy for you to say that. Have you thought about the risks of actually getting proof? What do you mean, risks? I think it was 2 winters ago. We reported it to Okonomiya's welfare centre. We told them there was abuse happening and to do something right away. Huh? You did? What happened? The person came as soon as we called. She interviewed Satoko and Satoshi about what was going on, and then the uncle and his wife too. I can understand asking Satoko and Satoshi, but wouldn't it be not so good to talk to the aunt and uncle? They said they'd base their judgment on what they heard from both sides. Right with them, wasn't it? So what did they decide to do? Wait and see. What do you mean, wait and see? The uncle really studied up on this stuff. By law, you can't call it abuse unless someone admits to assault or child neglect. They poked and prodded Satoko and Satoshi a lot, but it never left any real marks on them. They were pretty much eating 3 meals a day and had beds, and there weren't any recordings or something like that to prove they'd said or done anything to cause them psychological trauma. None of the villagers had actually ever seen them being violent either. No matter how mean you are, you wouldn't act so violent in front of other people. Nobody would. Then what happened? The welfare officer apparently went to visit on the same day each week for a while. The aunt and uncle knew they were being watched though and didn't torment them in any way that would stand out. Of course, that wasn't the end of it. You mean they ramped up how malicious they were being? Mion sighed and nodded. Their aunt was really damn stubborn. She's one of the most spiteful people I've ever known. Apparently she was doing some pretty disgusting things. Satoko was like a doll that did nothing but breathe by the end of it. So what? From that conclusion, does that mean they never should have contacted child welfare in the first place? Oh, Jesus Christ. On top of this being horrible, I work at a technical training college, and we'll have to have mandatory safeguarding. And I understand that this is set in the 80s, but that just seems so irresponsible. Oh, it makes me sick to my stomach. I'm gonna update the title. Understand? Without proof of abuse so clear anyone could see it, there's nothing we can do. In fact, it might even make the situation worse. We messed up pretty bad. After hearing that even public organisations, the one thing they thought was dependable, couldn't do anything, everyone hung their heads. The other thing is that child welfare officers like that tend to be horrifically underfunded and unable to provide the support that's needed. In other words, until we have clear evidence of abuse, we shouldn't notify anyone? Well, I mean, basically, yeah. I considered Satoko's current situation. She was brought back to her house. It was a little difficult to call that abuse. She was being tormented and forced to do the chores. How she was being tormented would be the key, but without concrete evidence, it would be difficult to prove. If she had some kind of external injury, that would work, but as far as we could tell from today, she had nothing like that. Being forced to do the chores, that was a bit weak too. There had to be better evidence that she was without a doubt being abused. I'll report it to a teacher. Oh, if they told... Just in case any of you happen to ever spot a situation like this, if you believe it's safe, report it to a teacher. In this situation, for example, I would have said, talk to Chie and explain the situation last time, say that you're uncomfortable actually contacting child CPS, as we would call it here at the moment, due to the previous situation, but make the teacher aware, because the other thing is that schools, especially in this day and age, many schools, certainly in the UK at least, will have a form of support for that. It just makes me so... It distresses me so much. Certainly in my college, the way that it works is that if we are aware of something, we can report it as a safeguarding concern. It will then go to one of the safeguarding officers who are specially trained in handling these situations, and if you mentioned in the past, for example, that CPS had been called, that they hadn't gained any evidence, but you could, as friends, you could tell that behind the scenes it had gotten worse, they would be able to take that into account. God, fuck me, right? Jesus, I hate this. At the same time, I appreciate that it's a more realistic horror, but I also hate it. I know. Her uncle had ignored Satoko's existence for a whole year and went to live with his lover in town. Didn't that fall under one of the definitions of abuse that Neon had mentioned? Child neglect? Sure does, buddy-o. Yeah, it's the perfect case of child neglect. What about that, Neon? If her uncle weren't here now, it could be recognised as child neglect, but he's living with her at the moment, isn't he? They were apart before, but if he said something like he had a change of heart and decided to live with her, then they might just wait and see again. Once you reported it, we need to be absolutely sure they'd interpret it as abuse. Maybe we needed far more concrete evidence, lest we repeat last year's mistake. Well, it's sad. This means we have to just sit quietly and wait, don't we? The only plan I could think of was, in the end, just watching and waiting. It left me in shock when I realised that it would be the same policy as that of the officials who'd made the situation worse. As Mion said, reporting it to a public agency would be a gamble. If we're going to pick a fight, it would have to be one we couldn't afford to lose. If we were gambling without enough money, without enough evidence, our defeat would be assured. If we took the time to amass enough money that we could be sure of victory, that would mean pretending we didn't see Satoko's plight for a considerable amount of time. Sorry for bringing this up now, but how was Rika able to live by herself? Rika had lost her parents, if I recall correctly. From what I'd heard, she had no relatives either. She was forced to live on her own as a result, but her life was unfettered, free of restriction. She could somehow grant that freedom to Satoko too? I mean, Rika, you're living without any parents, right? Don't kids with no guardians have to go to some sort of institution? Keiichi, that's cruel. I'm not saying it to be mean. I only asked because I thought maybe there'd be a hint of saving Satoko. Rika, I'm sorry if I offended you. Rika shook her head, not particularly disturbed. Well, you see, it's because I'm considered the mayor's daughter. Let me explain. The mayor, Old Man Kimiyoshi, is Rika's guardian. He got official permission from the governor of the prefecture. So you're adopted? No, not adopted. You can be someone's guardian without being in the same family. Oh, I get it. Rika lives by herself, but by law she's considered to live with the mayor, right? Yeah, basically. That's why Rika's allowed to live separately from her guardian. However, Satoko is actually living there as a freeloader. Eek. I don't understand the hard things, but anyway, she's right. Interesting you should say that, Neon. You can be someone's guardian, even if they're in another family. Then shouldn't we have the mayor or someone else become Satoko's guardian, if only on paper? Then she'd be in the same position as Rika, and she could go back to her old life. Too bad it won't work. I mean, her uncle is supposedly her guardian. Wait a minute, you lost me there. What's a guardian exactly anyway? Kate, you dumbass. Legal terms, a guardian and a parent weren't necessarily synonyms, so whoever was actually looking after her at home would be considered her guardian. Then her uncle isn't a guardian. He left Satoko by herself for so long. But if you insist he's a guardian, then that's it. It's been a few days since Satoko was taken back to her house. Her uncle's been paying for her meals since then, right? He is sort of looking after her, so he'd probably insist, and even though he abandoned her for a year, he'd already looked after her for the whole year before that, but the mayor doesn't have that kind of history. So then if both the mean uncle and the mayor requested guardianship at the same time, the uncle would make more sense? No, but he'd have a better chance. The term guardian refers to the person actually caring for her, right? The uncle actually has a bed and food for her, but the mayor would just have his name. It wouldn't even be a contest. Shouldn't the mayor just start caring for her for real? He'd be a guardian name and reality if he did. We just need to shelter Satoko. That might lead to our uncle being so desperate to take her back, but we'll stubbornly refuse him. It won't be that easy. Satoko's a growing girl, you know? It's not like giving someone a cat. You're asking him to care for a real person. And Coach, what about Coach? Coach is, I don't know, he's got a lot of money, right? He even said it himself. Even if he's not a real father, Coach would become a guardian. He'd be great at taking care of her. Stop that. Stop thinking of Satoko like a pet. All you're doing is talking about pushing her onto someone else. You need to think more seriously about how much responsibility it is to care for another human being. Did you ask him? Did you get an actual promise from him that he'd take Satoko into his care? No, I didn't, but Coach would definitely say yes. Ha, well fine. Even considering the 0% probability of Coach saying it was okay, then what? It still wouldn't work. Couldn't become a guardian all by himself. That's right. Coach, didn't he say himself? He was alone, so he couldn't do it. Shit, what the hell? Why is being single such a disadvantage in this society? Single rights now. All you could do is marry into a wealthy family, couldn't you? Is there anyone that wealthy in Kamisawa? I'm not sure. See? It's not simple. It's hard to adopt someone, and you can't go into it thinking you'll push Satoko onto someone else just for a little while. You're being naive, Keiichi. Damn it, what the hell? I'm desperately thinking of how to save Satoko, and all you're saying is no, no. Don't you care about her at all? So you have to say for yourself. I didn't mean that, but it just won't be that easy, and it's not that difficult a problem. We just need to have some rich people look after Satoko for a while, that's all. What about your family, Mion? You always brag about how great it is being one of the 3 families or whatever, don't you? From what you said, you must live in a gigantic house. My house? No, that won't happen. My grandmother would never allow it. Then what about your relatives in Okonomiya? From what I heard, they're living in luxury themselves. Plenty of shops your relatives manage in town too. Family are basically millionaires, aren't they? No, that won't work. Going to Okonomiya is even more out of the question. My father, he'd never let it happen, ever. Hey. Normally you act like some high and mighty bigwig, and now you're being all spineless? What the hell? You just gonna sit by and watch Satoko suffer? No, I don't, but, I mean, I want to help her as much as you. But it's a different story. How is it a different story? How can you be so cold-hearted? Your friend is in trouble. What are you if you don't rescue her? You're a president. A club president. Save her. Save her from this crisis. If you don't save her right now, you're not a friend. You're even human. I don't know if you have any humanity left in you. You listening to me, Mion? My emotions all exploded out of me, and I didn't even give her a chance to say anything in response. Just wanted to make Mion agree with me, even if I had to force her. If she did, Satoko's problems would be solved. If pushing her would solve the issue, then I'd push her as much as I needed to. Why aren't you saying anything anymore? I'm asking you, asshole. Say something, Mion Sonozaki. Me? Mion, looking down with a grim face, began sobbing. Her hands were clenched in trembling fists, and she rubbed her eyes to wipe away the tears. Was what I said actually that mean? That isn't the time to cry. We're in the gambling ring now, and we have to do something to save Satoko. And as I thought that, Reina spoke, her voice cold and incredibly calm. Keiichi, if Mion's family won't work, then what if we look for another wealthy family? I know someone in Hinazawa who lives in a nice big house. Who's that? Come on. You've got a splendid family, and you're leaving it out of things? My family? My family is... Your friends, right? Save her, Keiichi. Mion is cold-hearted after all. Since you're so considerate towards friends, you should lead by example. Just the 3 of you living in that huge house, right? Then you've probably got plenty of spare rooms. You should just give a few of the empty ones to Satoko, and then her worries would all be over. What's this? We're done already? That was pretty quick. Okay, great, congratulations on solving the problem. Then are we done for today? I'm going home, hooray hooray. Maybe I'll go treasure hunting. I haven't done that in a while. I was so worried about Satoko until now that I didn't feel like going to play at all. I wonder what I'll find today. Say something, will you? Why am I the only one talking? Say something, you bastard. Are you listening, Keiichi? Even the cicada seemed to cower in fear. Reina, her shoulders bobbing up and down, and Mie had forgotten to breathe. Mion, his face had gone completely pale, and Rika, who was keeping silent as if nothing had happened. The atmosphere in the classroom grew tight and stiff, and it petrified us where we stood. Rattle. The sound of the chair as Reina sat back down after having stood up finally allowed everyone present to take a breath. Reina had shown me just how much I'd hurt Mion. Reina's scary. After a few moments, Rika cut into the frozen air. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rika. Mion, I'm sorry to you too. I don't have to apologize to you, do I, Keiichi? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being so unreasonable. Were you saying all that to me before? You said it while glaring at Mion, so I totally thought you were talking to her. Reina had such strength that you wouldn't have imagined it normally. All I did was spout terrible things as a wave of violent fury passed over me. I couldn't contend with her. Mion, I'm sorry. I lost my cool. Come to think of it, I didn't understand what had gotten into me that riled me up that much. I thought of myself as Toko's Nini, so I only had good intentions, that I think about a little harder than everyone else, and yet... it's okay. You were worrying with everything you had, but all I was saying was that nothing would work, so I'm sorry. I did something wrong too. Mion rubbed away the tears at the corner of her eyes with a fist and apologised as well. We bowed our heads to each other and looked down without glancing at each other. Someone, I don't know who, heaved a sigh. Satoko being tormented had been known about since last year. How had the tragedy back then saved Satoko? How had they brought it to an end? Right. In the end, nobody could do anything. All they could do was bear it patiently and wait for those agonising days to end. That's right. The one who brought an end to those terrible days was some crazy drug addict nobody knew. On the night of Tatarigoroshi last year, their mean aunt had been beaten to death, but it hadn't been done to save Satoko or Satoshi. Right, it really was just a coincidence. Satoko's friends who needed to do something for her most of all could do nothing. The incident may have been a tragic one, but from Satoko's viewpoint, it was nothing less than a miracle. Yes, a miracle. A miracle one could only wait for. Is waiting all we can do? Not for evidence of abuse, not for something that minor. Huh? Wait, for what? A miracle. No one made fun of me for using such a crazy word. We couldn't come up with any solutions, so it's the only thing we could do. We're powerless. The one word Mion dropped was the finishing blow. It was hot. My body was sticky with sweat. The worst month. June. June's my birthday, so don't say it's the worst month. I walked forward quite a ways, then turned right where the rice fields ended. I'd never come here before, so I had no idea where to go. Got lost several times, so I may have taken quite a long way around. Maybe I should have gone back home and got my bike first. Would have made everyone else worried if I'd asked them, so I asked one of the other classmates where Satoko's actual house was. The house that was originally her family's apparently, not their uncle and his wife's. The house had been bigger, so they'd taken it for themselves. Right here, several houses all in a line. Over there? I was visiting Satoko's house, but didn't particularly intend to meet her there. Didn't mean to spy on the enemy, her mean uncle either. Maybe I just wanted to be a little close to her, as her Nini. Pretty words, but I didn't know if they were true. If what Tomita and the others told me was right, it'd be this house? When I recognised it, my feet grew heavy. What did I come here for? My motive for coming here was absurd. When Mion had said at the end that we're powerless, it made me sort of frustrated. I just wanted to do something, anything other than waste the days away praying for a miracle. That's what made me come here. But that was all. Even if I were to witness our uncle actually tormenting Satoko, what could I do? Would I act like a comic book hero, punch the guy in the face and take Satoko away with me, and then live together somewhere far away? That was ridiculous. I'm powerless. Cicada's voice, raised in chorus, sounded like they were scoffing at me, as though they were saying that if I couldn't do anything and wouldn't do anything, then I should go back home. I had a car approaching, so I got out of its way, but the car stopped right behind me, its horn honking shortly once. Annoyed, hadn't I got out of their way? I looked behind me, and a familiar face was looking at me out the driver's seat window. Coach. Hello, Maybara. How unexpected to meet you all the way out here. Do you live nearby? Me being here wasn't normal. Just as I considered somehow giving him the slip, I noticed Satoko sitting in the passenger seat. Satoko? Satoko got out of the car and began unloading a lot of groceries from the trunk. I happened to run into the coach on my way back from shopping. He said he'd bring me home, so I accepted his offer. She wouldn't have been able to carry all those groceries on her bike. As Coach spoke, he pulled Satoko's bike from out the back seat where they'd put it. The grocery bags were big, and there were 4 of them. They all seemed to be packed full and very heavy. Those bags, 7 smart? Hey, isn't that a little far to go by bicycle? I looked at the bags and saw that they were filled to the brim with sake bottles, snacks that you'd eat with sake, and boxes of cigarettes. The weight was one thing, but the contents were nothing less than luxury items. I made it thanks to Coach. He helped me out. It was a little difficult going up those hills. Satoko gave Coach a smile filled with gratitude, but it was incredibly awkward and even heart-rending. Satoko, these groceries aren't for dinner tonight, are they? Of course not. I don't drink sake and I hate snacks. Of course I don't smoke either. You made Satoko go to a distant store by herself on her bike? so she could buy dumb shit like this? What was her uncle doing right now anyway? Must have been working up a good sweat at this very moment if he needed to send Satoko up by herself, right? Not then how much had Satoko suffered for no reason? I hadn't intended to voice my feelings, but they may have made it onto my face. Coach might have noticed because he clapped me on the shoulder. Just then, one of the house windows clattered open, and the face of a vulgar man, the very sight of which made me immediately avert my eyes, emerged from within it. There are no self-introductions necessary. My gut told me that this was the uncle in question. First thing out of his mouth should have been words of gratitude for Satoko. Satoko, you left the heat for the sake on when you left, you half-wit. I'm sorry, but you told me to go right away. Shut up! All that brewing I did for nothing. What will you do about it? I'm sorry. Satoko miserably apologised over and over, bowing again and again. She could be perfectly described as a small animal. I had no idea what was happening. Should have brought a recorder tape. Satoko finished shopping for all this heavy stuff that wasn't even for dinner. She only managed to come back because she ran into Coach and he drove her home. She hadn't been found by him. She'd surely still be by herself, panting and moaning, pedalling her bike, up that steep hill. What was with those words, those horrible sleazy words that he said to Satoko? In what country's dictionary did it tell him to say such things to a young girl who'd just finished shopping? My anger, of course, wouldn't reach him. The uncle displayed no interest in me, instead shouting at Coach. Oh, if it isn't Dr. Irie. Hello. Why don't you come on inside too? We're in the last round, so you can get in right away. 100 yen per 1,000 points and anything goes. No, I'll pass, thank you. I just ran into Satoko and gave her a lift is all. I'll be leaving now. Ah, nah, come play around. You got a lot of money, yeah? Haha. I didn't even understand what our uncle and Coach were talking about, but I knew one thing for sure. None of what he just said had been to thank Satoko in any way. Satoko, could you bring us the damn snacks? And start getting those beers chilled too. Go get us some cold ones from the fridge. T-chan, you're so harsh on her. She looks so sad, you should take better care of her. This is how I gotta treat her. She's been like this since she was with my bro. Spoil her and she ain't gonna listen to a damn thing you say. Shit. Whatever, it's your draw, Te-chan. Tsubaki declared Richie too. Sorry. What? You and Richie again, Tsubaki? Looked like this wasn't just your uncle. Some of his friends were over. Hey, wait. What was he... No, what were they doing? Flinging rude words left and right, making Satoko go shopping for your beer. What were they doing? My uncle's friends came from town and they're playing mahjong. Told me to prepare dinner for them as well. What the hell? Mahjong? Called his friends over for mahjong? They were too busy playing, so they sent Satoko to buy them a crap load of booze from a faraway store. The first thing he said to her was how she left the gas on. What the hell? What the hell? What does that guy think he's doing? He get lost in some dumb game of mahjong and sends Satoko to buy all this stuff. Even the Coach was listening. He pretended he wasn't. There was a line of heavy-looking shopping bags lined up on the ground next to the trunk. Maebara, you help too, please. You're a boy. You get to carry this heavy one. Coach, you can let this slide? This is completely... Coach pretended he hadn't heard that violent outburst either. When I thought about it later, his reaction might have been the best thing he could do in that situation. I'll carry 2 of them myself. Come on, help us carry them, please. Bags were packed to the brim with bottles of sake and bar snacks. So heavy. And so filthy, so unfair. They weren't just heavy in terms of weight. They made me feel mortified. Nothing could have been heavier than that. Keiichi, there's no need to push yourself. I'll carry it. Satoko took my biting back the humiliation as grimacing under the weight and offered to help. Stupid. Don't underestimate me. Satoko had never looked down on my physical strength in the slightest. Ah. Coach, I'm sorry for you too. It must be heavy. No, not at all, answered Coach, smiling vaguely. Coolly, but I alone knew. Coach was an adult, so he just knew how to keep his feelings from showing. There was even more anger than I was feeling, burning deep in his eyes. Well, it is heavy. Ah, shit. It's not very far to the doorstep to Satoko's house, but the bag squeezed into my palms and started leaving red marks. Ugh. Fear welled up on me and the back of my throat stung, but even if it all came gushing out, it wouldn't solve anything. So, just tightly gritting my teeth was as much as I could do. Really, thank you so much, both of you. You really helped me here. After we carried them to the back door, Satoko said that was enough. Occasionally we'd hear the repulsive laughing of her uncle and her friends from within, and my insides would seethe. I knew they weren't ridiculing us, and that was why it made me so mad. They'd made Satoko shop for all this heavy, selfish stuff, then ignored her and laughed amongst themselves as they pleased. It was deeply aggravating. Of course, Coach had to have felt the same way, but if he accidentally let his feelings slip onto his face, he'd only cause Satoko more worry. He knew all that and spoke coolly, as if to say he didn't care. Not at all. I'm happy I could be a bit of help for you. If there's anything else I can help with, please tell me. Yes, I really am happy you feel that way. That he feels that way? Those words were sad. Satoko herself was sad and resigned that we could only help her so much. But she was right. No matter how much Coach or I want to help Satoko, this was as much as we could do. I felt absolutely ashamed at not having the power to help her any more than this. Burning, boiling emotions were bubbling up within me and rising into my throat. Trembling all over, I almost started to cry from my fury. Me too. If there's anything I can do, I'll help you whenever you need. So, hang in there. I wanted to at least give her those trite words, saying that I'd help her whenever she wanted. Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy just that you came all the way here when you didn't need to. Satoko seemed to have guessed what I was doing in a place like this, when my house was in the opposite direction from school. Alright, you should get going. They're drunk right now, so there's no telling when they'll get mad at you for. She felt guilty getting us involved after we'd helped her, because she wanted to be the only one to suffer this misfortune. That's how it looked, and it hurt. I handed my supermarket bag over to Satoko, and then I noticed on the back of Stoko's hand, there was something that looked like a bruise. Hey Satoko, what the heck is that bruise? I knew as much as anyone else how transparent that sounded. Didn't need to hear it from Satoko to know how this bruise came to be. I just slipped on the stairs and hid it a little. Please, pay it no mind. Lying. Coach nudged me in the back. And then he put his index finger to his mouth to chide me for being so loud. Really, thank you so much. Until tomorrow. I hope we can see each other at school. Not what I'm talking about. I asked you how you got that bruise on your hand. Ah. The evening glow finally got to a point where I could see the other oval-concealed bruises and traces of swelling on her neck and her legs, and other places too. I fell down the stairs. Ho-ho. That very moment, my violent, rampaging emotions were about to burst their way out of my mouth. I found my mouth being tightly clamped down on. Coach was pressing down on my mouth from behind, wrapping around me tightly with his hands. Because of that, I couldn't say anything. Could only groan, which I did. That was all I could do. I needed to expel all the magma sitting deep within me, because otherwise I'd surely explode into a million pieces that very moment. So I groaned. I groaned. From my mouth. From my whole body, while heat fell in drops from my eyes. I groaned to the point of exhaustion. I wrung absolutely everything out of myself. Even having lost my voice, I was still wringing it all out. I understand how you feel. I really do, Maebara. Please, just endure it for now. Please, I'm asking you, Maebara. Endure it for now? And then what, huh? What would happen to her? To Satoko? Her body and mind were wounded, and she was being made to suffer like this. Can you not even let me howl in vain at it? Is that it, Coach? Are we this powerless? So powerless that we can't even fucking, pardon me, scream from the bottom of our hearts? The voice of the Higurashi made me calm down. I didn't know how long it had been. Satoko abruptly gave a slight bow. Thank you very much, Keiichi. Satoko. You looked a lot like my real Nini just now. My real Nini may not be here anymore, but I have another Nini named Keiichi. Yeah, you got it. I'm your Nini, and when you're in pain, I'll help you no matter what. Your Nini will rescue you for sure. Satoshi Hojo, you fucking idiot. If not now, then when? Satoko, she's never been in more pain in her life. If her Nini doesn't save her now, then when will he? Why'd you run away? Why did you abandon her? Why did you leave Satoko behind? You don't have any right to call yourself Satoko's Nini. I won't run away. Huh? I definitely won't run away. I won't run away and abandon you like Satoshi did. No way. I will not abandon you. Slip. Tears trickled down from Satoko's eyes. And then she narrowed her eyes into a smile. Goodbye, Nini. Satoko took her right hand and awkwardly waved to me. I'll be alright. My Nini now. Help me so much. So I'll be okay. I'll do my best until tomorrow. I'll be okay. So, for today, this is goodbye. There was no way that I could say bye, see you tomorrow, and then from inside the house came a throaty, disgusting voice. Satoko, could you bring us the snacks already? Okay, Nini, get going already. I'll be fine now. Hurry. Let's go, Maebara. Staying any longer than this would be a bother to Satoko. Coach, Nini's house is a little far away. I'm sorry to ask you this, but could you take him home? Yes, I'll do that. Coach grabbed me by my collar and with strength I couldn't have imagined him having, started dragging me away, and I, unable to oppose him, started getting farther away from Satoko. She waved a hand to us, expression still dark, and disappeared through the back door. Coach got into the car first and turned around on the narrow path and brought the passenger side door around for me. I know how you feel, so well it hurts. No, I think I understand it even more than you. But right now, just for now, please endure it. She understood exactly how you feel, so please endure it. If you don't, I know already. I'm sorry, thank you for before. I meekly got into the passenger seat. The car accelerated quietly, and Satoko's house grew farther and farther away in the rearview mirror. I made a wide turn, and then I couldn't see a house anymore. Is your house that far away? It's in the other direction from school, isn't it? I didn't bother to reply. I would have been hard-pressed to give an answer as to why I was at Satoko's house. Coach didn't say anything more either. For a while, the two of us were silent, the only sounds from the gravel spraying over the road as we drove. I remembered how Reina said things were different than last year. At the time, she had Satoshi with her. Satoshi protected Satoko, so that less of the sparks fell onto her. But now Satoshi isn't here. Yes, that's the unfortunate truth. Coach seemed to understand what I really meant when I said that. It's a terribly sad, cruel story, but there's a limit to our resolve, our efforts and our assistance. Sounded like an excuse, but he was right. Even if Coach and I wanted to be people Satoko could depend on, that was all. It ended at the front door. No matter how much I shouted that I would be her Nini, no matter how much I shouted that I wouldn't abandon her, no matter how much Satoko called me Nini, I couldn't do any more than that. Where on earth could Satoshi have gone? Right, Satoshi was another story. Her actual brother, Satoshi, he was in a position to protect her far, far better than we ever could. I have a sneaking suspicion that he beat the aunt to death, and then, for whatever reason, the drug addict confessed to it. I am also really, really genuinely worried that if Teppei's girlfriend was involved in taking stuff from the Sonozaki family, and then she was killed as a result of that, him coming to Hinamizawa and having Satoko in her power allows her to hold that over her, and that Sonozaki has quite a lot of sway in her family, so she has protection for him, that her family can't do anything. I'm assuming he was involved in it. They have no evidence for it, but I'm assuming from the fact that they were partners, could very well be wrong. I just worry that he'll use her as a protection against vengeance. Satoshi was in a position to protect her far, far better than we ever could. That was the cold, sad truth of the massive gulf between Satoshi and us. I wonder what he's been doing lately. Satoshi left home. I didn't know why. Maybe it's because of Oyashiro-sama's curse, or he disappeared or something. In any case, he wasn't beside Satoko now. At the time Satoko needed him to protect her most, he wasn't there. Why isn't he here? Satoko needs him now more than ever. A lot of people talk about Oyashiro-sama's curse, but the only thing I can say is that he ran away. One of my friends said that one day he just never came back. He ran away without even leaving so much as a note for his sister. Satoshi had been doing part-time jobs a lot. At the time, Satoko really wanted this huge stuffed animal. It ended up costing a lot, so he was doing all sorts of part-time jobs in order to afford it. Felt so strongly about it. Everyone was whispering about how he at least wanted to give his sister a nice birthday present, since she was being made to live such a pitiful life with her uncle and his wife. In the end, he didn't use the savings for a birthday present for Satoko. Satoshi disappeared, and the police looked long and hard. They found out that Satoshi had withdrawn all of his savings himself on the day he left. After checking all over, they began to think that maybe he'd used his savings to go to Tokyo. Tokyo? For what? Again, all I can say was that he ran away. Saved up all that money so he could run away? He was that selfish, but how could he just leave Satoko behind? He was going to run away anyway. He should have just brought Satoko with him. Even now, Coach was still calm. He wasn't trying to pour any oil on the fire of my anger at all. Just waited until my anger naturally subsided. After listening to gravel being crushed under the wheels for a little while, Coach spoke abruptly. Please understand. Satoko, left behind, arrived at the same conclusion. I'm a burden on my brother, and that's why he abandoned me. He didn't take her with him when he left. How terrible must Satoko have felt being betrayed by the brother she loved so much. But Satoko is a very strong person. Of course she had the support of close friends too, but that was how she regained her smile. I recalled how Satoko had spoken of Satoshi so brightly when I was eating dinner with her and Rika a few days ago. At the time, I didn't think any more of it than how pleasant their sibling love had been, but now that I did think about it, I realised it was like she was peering into the distance from a top trial of tragic perseverance. She said Satoshi will come back for sure, and that when he did, she wanted him to see how she was no longer a burden. Satoko isn't a burden. She's way better at day-to-day living than me. She can do pretty much anything. I mean, she might fall behind Reina or Rika in certain aspects, but she's way more of an adult than most people. That's the result of her having worked so hard, since she didn't know when Satoshi would come home. Her efforts are so painful. Why she lived with Rika, while Rika taught her how to handle everything flawlessly, also that she could welcome back Satoshi at any time, so that she could show him she wasn't ashamed. So, when is Satoshi going to come back? I asked Coach, but knew he wouldn't be able to answer. In any case, Satoshi ran away. He left Satoko and ran away from Hinamizawa. Someone said that when you leave Hinamizawa and run away, Oyashiro-sama's curse gets you, right? Then that made sense. Satoshi running away and his disappearance, that would obviously mean people thought it was the curse, right? And they could smile, as though it were his own fault, as though he got what he deserved. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, whoever you are, Satoshi didn't vanish because you ran away. You demoned him away with your curse, didn't you? If that's not what happened, then I couldn't forgive him. When did Satoshi run away? The night of the Tatarigoroshi festival last year, when the aunt was killed by that deviant. It was a few days after that, on Satoko's birthday. On Satoko's birthday? I slammed my hands on the dashboard in front of me with all my might. Satoshi, of all the days, could have chosen to run away. The aunt just died a few days before, didn't she? All your days of suffering were about to end, weren't they? You were just about to start thinking about a new life, weren't you? It's wrong to be happy about someone dying, but for Satoko and her brother, her birthday had come at a critical turning point. The mean uncle had fled town and the siblings would be left alone. They should have been able to be happy about that, on Satoko's birthday. Satoko was probably waiting for her brother to return the whole time. Waiting for her brother to return, when he never did. Waiting with bated breath for her brother to return. Her hopes and dreams of a new life come growing ever larger. But no matter how long she waited, he didn't come back. He didn't even contact her. Satoko, trembling in anticipation of a great present. Just when would she have to face the cold, terrible truth? Satoshi, you fucking idiot. I could feel my blood rising to my head in anger at Satoshi. I was frustrated. I was aggravated. I couldn't forgive him. Satoko still respected and adored her brother, and yet he so heartlessly betrayed her. Such a person wouldn't just come back. Now, when he was most needed. Yes, no one would protect her. Not even her real brother, Satoshi. So when she started to see you as her Nini, I was happy. Huh? I pray for Satoko's happiness as well, but I have a position in a society and a job to do every day. I have little time that I can devote to Satoko. But you're different. You go to school with her and you're close to her and Satoshi in age. I know you think you can only do so much, but you're in a position where you can give Satoko a hand much better than I can. I want you to help her enough for the both of us. That's what I wish for. That's... Coach, you could... Of course, with my job skills, there are plenty of things only I can help her with, but in the same way, there are things only you can do for her. What I want to say is, we should both perform in every way we can. Was that a little too complicated? Coach added that, but I shook my head in response. When I heard him say he had job skills, it reminded me that he was an adult, in a different position from all of us. Maybe I should ask him about it. Do you know about law? No, I know even less than the average person. Why? Thought back to when I argued with Leon and the others about Satoko. Our children's argument only left us with the conclusion that we had to wait and see, but what would an adult think? What was it, the child welfare law? As an emergency message to call the safety of a juvenile, they can force them to separate from the parent. They can do that? So then we could rescue Satoko from her uncle right away? Satoko might not want that. Satoko doesn't want it? Why? Coach didn't answer me. I didn't know why he didn't. It was clear as day that Satoko's uncle was being violent and treating her like a slave, so then why? Clamped down on my frenzied emotions and waited intently for Coach to answer. But he never did. It wasn't like he was pretending he hadn't heard me. If I had to say, it was more like he wanted to explain but couldn't put it into the right words. Satoko probably thinks of this poor treatment as a trial. A trial? This isn't some weird religion we're talking about. You might know this, but Satoshi always looked out for Satoko. She always relied on him, almost as though she was utterly dependent on him. I know for a while that Satoshi had always protected Satoko from their aunt and uncle, but that was his duty as an older brother and not something to worry about. I think that may have traumatized her. Maybe she figured that depending so heavily on her brother had made him hate her. And for Satoko, the current situation was a retelling of the story a little over a year ago. But this time Satoshi wasn't here. She wants to overcome this trial by herself, without relying on anyone else, and that if she doesn't grow strong, then Satoshi will never return. She thinks something like that now, or so I believe. Now that he mentioned it, Satoko had never said a word about how hard it had been before. I figured she was being threatened not to talk about it, but I talked with everyone. We were wondering if we should report it to the Child Consultation Centre. I've heard that a social worker was visiting Satoko last year. In the end, they decided to wait and see, and we thought that maybe that made her get tormented even more. That was, apparently, Satoko reported herself, and as a result, the abuse worsened, but was kept just out of sight. She was under even more torment, and the burden on Satoshi for protecting her rose considerably. Could Satoko? She wouldn't be thinking it's her own fault for reporting it, could she? Satoko would probably either hate it if you suggested reporting the abuse or feign courage and say you didn't need to. And even if you reported it in secret, she'd probably insist to the social worker she wasn't being abused. Satoko always acts tough and doesn't readily admit defeat, so I can imagine that easily. There are strict limitations on this emergency measure. The Child Consultation Centre would need permission from both the court and the concerned party. If the abuse was known to the public, they could forcibly shelter her even if she denied it. For Satoko, that would probably mean losing. This isn't about winning or losing. It's real life. Satoko, she's... Back on topic. After they placed her under the protection, she'd be sent to a childcare institution or the like. She'd basically be living there, so it would mean moving away. And with the change in residence would come a change in schools too. That changing schools, it has to be done if that's what it will take for her to be safe. Satoko understands all those things. All the more reason for her not to want it. Why? Because Satoko's reason for living is to wait at that house for Satoshi to return. The young girl abandoned by her brother. How did she find her reason to live? Try looking at it from Satoko's point of view rather than your own. Felt like he was trying to confuse me with that hard-to-understand, roundabout way of talking, so unique to adults. Point was that I couldn't do anything about Satoko wanting to stay in that house, and that I should watch until she gives in. In the end, no matter what I said, Coach himself was saying to wait and see. I don't understand. What? If I feel that Satoko's really in danger, I will take action without asking anyone's opinion. She might not be happy with the result, and she might hate me for it, but I believe that will ultimately be what brings Satoko happiness. Coach turned to me and gazed fixedly into my eyes. It was written all over his face. He was shocked at what such a young kid had said. Why would you go that far? Coach, no rather, normal adults might not have understood, so I taught him the creed and values that I believed in. Satoko's my friend, and I'm Satoko's Nini. Isn't that enough of a reason? I stared at him with a will strong and unbreakable as the steel in his eyes betrayed a tiny bit of unrest. Of course that's enough. We were silent for a little while until finally Coach said only that. Didn't we make a promise? I'm sorry, what? That we weren't going to ever let Satoko cry. Made a vow on the day of the barbecue party. Didn't think about it hard at all, but Coach and I still made a promise that we wouldn't ever let Satoko cry. Coach gave a dry grin of regret, immediately apologising for not remembering. One way or another, when you grin like that, it made me think that his enthusiasm for saving Satoko was a tiny bit smaller than mine. He lightly hit the brakes, making a skidding noise, and leaned forward. Could that be your house there? Oh, right, Maebara would live at the Maebara residence, wouldn't he? Before I knew it, we were almost to my house. Heavy stuff. Heavy stuff, my good bitches. The problem is, as an abuse victim myself, I can completely understand her thinking. Abuse does this great thing where it completely warps your understanding of the world around you and people's actions towards you. And so it's awful and I hate it. My abuse was emotional abuse. It wasn't from a family member, but it was... I hate it so much. It makes me sick to my stomach. December 1st, 1981. Prefecture Juvenile Welfare Division Report. Do not view, do not duplicate. Case 31, November 20th. Satoko Hojo, something years old. Residence, blah blah blah, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibune. 1. Consultation circumstances. Anonymous telephone SOS of child abuse. Abuse situation. Anonymous claims that female child is suffering physical abuse by adoptive parents, her guardians. Family structure. Star marked abusers. Adoptive father, adoptive mother, older brother, child in question. In June 1980, the parent's child died in an accident and she was given to her uncle on her father's side, her father's younger brother. 4. Child Consultation Centre's response. On the day of the anonymous telephone consultation, the centre called the child's school and asked for a situation. Next day, the welfare officer on duty visited the child's home and heard what they had to say. Both adoptive parents agreed to the centre's coaching. Contacted anti-abuse network in the city. Part of this suggested coaching. A district welfare in the area began visiting for coaching at fixed intervals. Scroll note below is stapled to the report. Rated information from former official Mr. W. Refer to 1997 documents D23 number 44. Asked Chief Investigator F from the student's education consultant officers. He is well informed about it. What? Hang on, right. Sorry, that was, I just want to... That was 1981. '77, that would have been 4 years. That would have been... So hang on, we're in 92 now, which is the 5th. So 1981 was Satoshi and the aunt. 1980 was Rika's parents. 1979 was Toko's parents. 1978 was the original one, the OG. So the 1977 would have been the year before, so a complete mystery. Right, we've got half an hour left, so let's keep going. I went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things, but that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realise how much Satoko must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating his gentle kindness, Satoko might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. Then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We thought that if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. But with what Coach said, I didn't think it'd be so easy. Satoko was obstinate, and she'd suddenly deny the abuse and try to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who protected her before, then run away. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, then I'd do what I had to. In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd draw a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it, over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, I've got mega hiccups. She might criticise me if she found out, but I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi Maebara. Would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported it to a public agency, like Child Consultation Centre. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year they decided to do just that, and the situation improved temporarily, but then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year it was her uncle. I'd just seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed much more direct, much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. BT Dubs, the achievement for the next one is... influence. Asked for help from a grown-up. He wasn't like their aunt. No, not that subtle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on Satoko's body. Shit, you're too naive, Keiichi Maebara. However heroic it may seem to report what's happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed that I hadn't realised it until Reina said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw-thatched roofs in Kamizawa, it was really big. We did actually have empty rooms. Never thought that we were affluent, but also never that we were poor. It just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. Guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job come and stay every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad uses for storage, they could work for her as well. As for food expenses, that might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone pecking everyone else's food anyway, it'd be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, though, that would have to be up to Mum. I'd need to convince her to lend Satoko more than just a room. Of course, I didn't even think convincing her of that would be easy. About how much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more thanks to New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken all that away and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot more money. If I got that far, Mion and Reina would need to share some of the burden. Of course, that didn't seem like it would work. Reina got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto others. I'd have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through on it, but it wouldn't be only food expenses. There are a lot of other things that you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergents Satoko would use for her own clothes. Couldn't think only about food expenses. I needed more money. Hey, wait, Keiichi Maebara, since when was all of this about money? Even if you could afford it, you need your parents' permissions first. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a little bit, Keiichi Maebara, and you realise right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maybara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? That's what would happen. That was it. It's sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything. Are kids, are they really this powerless? I felt frustrated. I believed my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought they were stronger than Coach's, and yet, at that point, there were 2 knocks at my door and Mom poked her head inside. Were you awake? I've been calling you for dinner for a while. Oh, yeah, I'm coming. As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing and food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I tremulously thought of it as a responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. When I realised that natural thing was actually a privilege, I came to realise just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on the table right now, for Mum, Dad and for me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place at the table. Think, Keiichi Maebara. If it was hard to make food for 4, then just think about how 4 people could eat food made for 3. Oh, I changed around the way I thought, and with that I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here in secret. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, if you climbed out the window and then shimmy down to the first floor roof or gutter, you could go in and out the house directly from my room. Soko's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it'd be even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. I'd only have to bring Satoko to my house when the public agency said they would wait and see. In other words, if Satoko's uncle continued to be her guardian, if in such a situation word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satoko back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt. I needed to keep it a secret she was living here. If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents help would mean a lot, but gotta deceive your own eyes first, like they always say. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I searched for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she just had to be really quiet in my room on the 2nd floor. The issue was the daytime. She was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school. Might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. Could easily teach Satoko the stuff she learns in a grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. During the day, I'd need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around in my room when I was gone, I think. If she held herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? If my parents did come, thanks to where the 2nd floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. There'd be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimated a few seconds. That she'd be able to hide herself in the closet. Wait, Keiichi. Something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what'll she do for lunch? Calm down already. I could just leave her on my own lunch, couldn't I? She'd just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. No more contradictions or oversights, right? Breakfast and dinner. Could somehow get her to go without breakfast. I can go with 2 meals a day when I sleep in on Sundays, after all. Every night, I pretend as though I had a bigger appetite than asked for a bigger helping. Then I could just somehow give part of that to Satoko. As a test, stood up from my seat with my plate of fish in my hands. What's wrong, Keiichi? Sit down and eat your food. Well, I'm kind of not in a good mood. Could I eat up in my room? You'll make a mess. Eat dinner at the dinner table. Sorry. Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish and they ganged up on me. In reality, it was possible for me to smuggle food away without my parents knowing about it. It must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realising. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've got to hide. I opened the closet. Clatter, clatter. Didn't open quietly. Hey, wait, didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why is it suddenly doing this now? What is this, a faulty house? Had it already gotten old or something? Was I just not putting enough work into it? Could I just plaster it with wax? Sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. But this was an easy problem. I could do something about it. Just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make noise anymore. For now, I closed myself in the closet, as though I'd successfully hid. Basically always left my futon out on the floor. Couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into my closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. Might need to construct some sort of camouflage so she wouldn't be noticed even if they did open it. The more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide, meaning it'd be more likely they'd hear a noise. Then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. Bathroom? Need to use a toilet, so obvious and yet such a fatal flaw. Only bathroom was on the 1st floor. It'd be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realising. Might need to set up a portable toilet. I would hate it so she could go in my room. The stench would be pretty terrible. Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even coming into the room. Bath was okay though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out. But I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed I'd been clawing at my head with both hands, sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest, buried my face in them and tore at my hair. More I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped place for so long. But if I was to shelter Satoko, I'd need to force it to feel this pain. To live in such a dank, narrow, suffocating place forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle, or so I wanted to think. Got hard to breathe, so I gave in and crawled out of the closet. Looked at the clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. It felt like so little time, but it was so unbelievably long. When I realised that, I was slammed with a terrible urge to sleep, as if the time had only just caught up with me. Didn't have enough strength to fight it, and I fell flat on my futon. Shit, I can't just go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that'll mean I'm taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. Needed to keep worrying about how to rescue Satoko for a minute, or even a second longer than everyone else. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought, there are a lot of blind spots in what I considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow I'd suggest a spoiled plan to the others. Mio might be able to help somehow, and Reina was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we needed to rescue Satoko once again, with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satoko. I think I'll keep going into the next chapter. Or, no. Actually, no. It's kind of, yes, no I am. The ceiling blurred into view. It was hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. Voice of the cicadas permeating my room was somehow grating to my head. What? Today's not Sunday, is it? I remember today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness. Then finally I leapt up of bed. Clock read a little before 10. I was totally late. When I wandered downstairs, my mum would get mad at me. There was nothing I could do, though. After reviewing the schedule for the school day for a moment, I suitably rearranged the stuff in my bag. I hurried and got dressed and went down the stairs. There was no sign of my parents anywhere. Maybe they went out somewhere together? So that's how it was. My mother had probably woken me up once this morning, but then I fell back asleep without remembering it. My parents, thinking I'd gone to school, left. Something like that probably happened. I went to the front door, and as I expected, it was locked. Looked like I was right. It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. When I realised my parents weren't here, I suddenly felt less like I had to rush to get to school. There was one portion of breakfast left in the dining room, probably mine. The milk they'd poured in it had gone warm since a while ago. When I realised how hard it would be to sneak food for Satoko, yesterday I had cried. Well, thinking back on it, food wasn't the only issue in that regard. I was in a position where I could bargain for Satoko by myself anyway. Such a heavy thing just to save a single person. Seen this on TV and in comics all the time. There's feel-good words about how you'll save your friends for sure and such. Was that why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her? Because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that absolutely wasn't true. Because the fact was, I couldn't save her. Because I didn't want to think like an adult, like I couldn't do anything but watch. Had Satoko gone to school today? I immediately realised that was a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her and no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle. Are we so powerless? With the vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put on my shoes and stumbled out the front door. I'd only overslept by 2 or 3 hours, but the sunlight and air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came around, you could barely call it morning anymore. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. I needed to ultimately end up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one, to get to school. Put in a more positive light, maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. I had to go to school, partly to make sure Satoko was safe, but I hadn't come up with any plans yet. Nothing since last night. So the path I took from my house was in the complete opposite direction. If I went this way, I'd pass Raina's house and the dam site. It'd be quite a detour. Calculated how long of a detour it'd end up being, then satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Raina had brought me to the dam site a few times. One section of it turned into an unlawful, oversized garbage dump, and Raina really liked going fishing for junk in there. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl too. I can think of a few other qualities she could do without, but whatever. The view quickly opened up wide and I was hit by a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. Maybe it was a good thing I came here, I thought. At the very least, it was more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this instead of my cramped bedroom. Took a deep breath and filled my lungs with the rich cold air unique to Hinamizawa. Ring ring. Turned around reflexively. It was a bicycle bell. Considering where I was standing, I don't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They'd rang the bell because they wanted something from me. Hey, excuse me. You're from Hinamizawa, right? Yes, why? I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. His name, I think, was Tomitake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. He would zealously visit Hinamizawa every season to take pictures, or so Mion and the others told me, I think. Could you tell me how to get to the Furude Shrine from here? I think I left my map at the inn. I don't know where to go. The shrine? From here? I knew everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was difficult. I was a little irritated I hadn't been bothered for this, but when I realised it meant my detour actually meant something, the feeling faded quickly. I'll tell you, but it's a little difficult to explain. I could bring you there if you don't mind. Really? I would be in your debt. Thanks a lot. But are you sure? Did you have something to do? Tomitake finally appeared to have realised how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. Smoothie told him not to worry about it, then turned my back and started walking towards the Furude Shrine. Tomitake hurried to turn his bike around and came after me. Ah, sorry. Don't worry, all guys have times when they need to split up from the pack and be lone wolves for a while. What a free-minded freelancer. It was easier for me too that he was under that impression. I'm Tomitake, a freelance photographer. I specialise in wild birds and landscapes. Still pretty unknown though. It seemed absurd to him to introduce himself when I was just showing him to the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give mine back. I'm Maebara. Pleased to meet you, I guess. Maebara? Pleased to meet you. Seemed like a pretty silly man, but that felt kinda good considering I've been suffocating with worry over Satoko all night. Along the way, Tomitake spoke at length to me about how precious the nature in Hinamizawa was, and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds, despite my not having asked. Wasn't interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I left him to it. These steps will take you up to the shrine grounds. Thank you. You really helped me out. I think I'm a little late. As Tomitake mumbled to himself, he left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. Didn't have a watch, but as far as my internal clock would guess, it was still a little late in the morning. School wasn't very far from here. Maybe I could kill a little more time until then. With that in mind, I went up the steps in pursuit of Tomitake. When I reached the top of the long staircase, I arrived at the wide-open shrine grounds that were far too grand-looking for this tiny village. Tomitake. Oh, there he is. Looked like he was supposed to be meeting someone here. Then he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. That lady. I knew her. Oh, is that you, Maebara? Hello there. Are you off from school today? What? Oh, Maebara, you followed me? I wasn't really planning to. I just wanted to kill some time. Oh my. Arriving at work late like an executive. How refined. Certainly are famous, taking the time to look like a big shot. What was I, a celebrity? Well, she did say my name out of nowhere anyway. I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous. Oh, you still can't remember my name? This is Mio Takano. She works at the village clinic. Maebara, you seem healthy, so you probably haven't been to the hospital much, have you? Now that we're finally acquaintances, the next time you're sick or something, I suppose I'll give you a little bit of special treatment. Lady named Takano. I kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we'd passed each other on the street a few times, but I was pretty sure this was the first time we talked. Well, this is Hinamizawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. I glanced at Takano and saw she had a bag and a camera. Are you photography partners? Was that where you're meeting each other? Oh, we're nothing like partners. I am but an amateur, and Jiro is gently initiating me into it. Right? That's not it at all. Takano is a quick learner. She could take pictures just fine without my guidance. I mean it. Couldn't tell which of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, they were certainly one couple you wouldn't get tired of watching. The festival is finally coming up the day after tomorrow. I hope I can take some good pictures this year. I plan on taking some shots of the setup tomorrow. I want to capture the festival energy shown by the preparations for it too. Oh, I just remembered. There was some village festival called Tatarigoroshi or something the day after tomorrow on Sunday. They held a service with a pile of old futons in order to give thanks to Hinamizawa's guardian deity, Ooishi-sama, I think? Oh, you're correct. You have quite extensive knowledge, despite having just moved here. Yes, it is a festival, to give thanks to Ooishi-sama. Takano smiled somehow meaningfully, but she didn't tell me what part of a festival to thank Ooishi-sama needed to be laughed at. Cryptic as ever, Takano. But I do wonder what will happen this year. You know what they say? If it happens twice, it'll happen a third time. And it's already happened 4 times. I think there's less evidence that it won't happen a 5th time, don't you? I knew what they meant by the whispered exchange. On the day of Tatarigoroshi, a freak death always occurs which people call Ooishi-sama's curse, and a disappearance always occurs that people call being demoned away. These strange events had happened for 4 years running, and Tatarigoroshi, rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow, marked the 5th. Ooishi-sama puts a curse on enemies of the village, eh? If it does happen this year, I wonder who'll find themselves at gunpoint. Oh, and I always come here to pray and donate money whenever I visit. It won't be me for sure. Wink. Oh, is that so? They say that Ooishi-sama has been especially harsh on outsiders recently, you know? Maebara may have only just moved in, but he's a proper member of Hinamizawa. But Yujiro is a stranger who only comes once a year. I wonder, will he let you go this year? That's harsh. Tomitake was the only one with a pain grin, but we were all smiling, me included. Oyashiro-sama, the one who used a curse to kill people involved with the damn construction project, the one after the next. He killed the damn construction manager, killed Satoko's parents for supporting it, and the next year he even killed Haran. If the demoning away was part of that curse, then you could add Satoshi to the list of victims. As I thought about it, I realised that in the serial freak death instance, the overwhelming majority had the last name Hojo. Half of their deaths and disappearances had come from the Hojo family. Hojo family lived here in Hinamizawa. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama punished and cursed them particularly harshly because despite that, they'd been in favour of the dam? Have you heard the news that Satoko's uncle has returned? Takano, who'd been enjoying a few words with Tomitake, was caught unaware by my sudden inquiry. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? Satoko's parents were killed by the curse and her aunt too, so I was wondering if maybe you went in order her uncle would be next. Her aunt had a miserable death from the curse last year, and her uncle let his fear take over and fled into town, right? Oyashiro-sama doesn't allow people to try and abandon the village, does he? I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent. With those words, they just flowed out my mouth without me thinking about it. Right, Oyashiro-sama's curse. Didn't believe in something so unrealistic, of course, but the fact was that every year, unfortunate accidents and incidents happened to the enemies of the village. Like Takano said just now, what happened 4 times. No one could say there wouldn't be a 5th. That's an interesting suggestion. It is true that if you look at those sacrificed in previous years, those named Hojo did come up quite frequently. Given how long it's gone on for, her uncle being the one to die or disappear this year isn't out of the question. Not again, Takano. Don't laugh about it. It could really happen. Oh, I'm sorry, but Oyashiro-sama's curse is my life's work. Takano gave off a mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her life's work was mysterious in its own right. After this, I'm going to have some ice cream to soothe my sore throat. And now I'm just looking forward to the ice cream. I got a cookies and cream ice cream because it was on sale. It's very good. It makes me kind of sick to my stomach because it's cookies and cream and also because it's not dairy-free, but the dairy-free stuff never goes on sale, so... She probably really liked inexplicable supernatural phenomena or something. Takano, you seem like you know a lot about Oyashiro-sama. Give me your honest thoughts. Given that he's a Hojo and that he's returned, what are the chances that uncle will fall to curse? My what? You seem like you really want this uncle of hers dead. That's not... I wonder. It all depends on the whims of God. Mebara, do you know the true identity of Santa Claus? Huh? What a strange question all of a sudden. I couldn't immediately answer. What, you don't know? It's your dad. The daddy's in everyone's family. What? That's what you meant? Well, of course. Everything ultimately comes down to humans in the end. After all, humans are the only ones living in this world. All strange things should be explainable in terms of human actions. Felt like I put that somewhat strangely, but Takano was not as dissatisfied with the reply as I might have guessed. Impressive that you caught on to that at such a young age. You're right. Strange things that happen in the world of man are all caused by man for their own benefit. Mibara, I'll ask you again then. This time, not Santa Claus, but Oyashiro-sama. Do you know anything about who Oyashiro-sama is? Takano took a step towards me and gazed into my eyes as she asked. Santa Claus is really the parent of every family's children. If lionizing that legend was a corporate tactic to try and profit during Christmas sales, then what was Oyashiro-sama, really? Didn't you already say? There are only humans in this world. Everything can be explained by human actions, right? Nebara, keep this to yourself, okay? The string of freak death incidents attributed to Oyashiro-sama's curse. Takano's view is that they may be premeditated homicides, performed by the people of Hinamizawa, based on some kind of ceremony. No, don't misunderstand me. My life's work is to research teachings, thoughts, and cultures from the viewpoint of folklorism. I don't really care at all about who the culprit really is. Just keep that in mind, please. You could tell at least that she was saying some crazy stuff. If I was to liken her statements to a meal, it'd be sort of like she just tried to stuff a whole plate of duck into my mouth, and now I couldn't say anything. I might get duck pancakes Friday tomorrow takeaway. Ooh. To understand that in the first place, you have to go all the way back to ancient times, when Hinamizawa was called Onigafuchi, or the Demon's Abyss. The transcendents who lived there believed themselves to carry the blood of demons, and so were only half human. Takano, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began speaking of ridiculous matters. Tomitake realised she was overwhelmingly interrupted for me. Takano, you can't just chatter on about that stuff to Mebara. Look, he's really confused. Oh my, are you? If you want to hear more, ask me any time. I have heaps of the grotesque stories that boys your age seem to love hearing. Thank you. If I feel like it, I will. For now, I softly and safely gave my refusal. Takano seemed a little unhappy about that Tomitake had rained on a parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Even so, it was still a very interesting story. That Oyashiro-sama's curse, which we thought of as a strange freak deaths, were really homicides. The perpetrated by people of the village. Perpetrated. I mean, if you thought about it logically, it'd have to be. People wouldn't be dying because of a curse. Someone's obviously killing people and making it look like one. Indeed. As for who that is, might be safer not to try and find out. You seem like you know, Takano. You may not have proof, but you seem like you believe it. Oh my, why do you think that? Just kind of felt it vaguely. Didn't seem like her extreme passion for this research could be explained just by these things being taboo or being safe and easy. This person loved walking through the profound, forbidden abyss of risks and taboos. Let's leave it at that, Keiichi. I just helped you escape and now you're trying to talk about Ayashiro-sama again. I want to take a nice walk and it was still cool. Tomitake seemed a little disappointed not to be able to go on the date he'd planned since I brought up a weird topic. But right now there was something I wanted to ask, just for a little bit. And that was about whether Satoko's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. If he was, then another miracle would happen, just like last year. Terrible incident would happen again, but it released Satoko from unfortunate circumstances once more. Well, I do have a few suspicions as to the kind of people who'd probably become involved, of course. It's a natural, inevitable conclusion for anyone who's researched the history of Onigafuchi village. They're to be dropping frames again, so I do apologise. Who do you mean? What would I do if I knew? I asked that question to the other me deep inside, but got no reply. How enthusiastic. What would you do if you knew? Nothing, really. If you found out, you might get into danger yourself, you know? Maybe the 5th year's curse would be you. Takano, toying with taboo, gave a devilishly satisfied smile, as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. She was probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like going along with her little game one bit. You like to talk pretty big, but you don't really know yourself, do you, Takano? I felt a tingle of irritation at Takano's roundabout way of speaking, but those emotions escaped my mouth, like water flowing through a strainer. Even I was surprised at how directly I'd spoken out about what I felt. Of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback. Oh my, you're something. You may be just a boy, but you can still provoke people. How unexpectedly rugged. I don't dislike people like that, you know. Takano's tongue poked out of her mouth, and I was convinced that it was long and thin, split in the middle like a snake's. Alright, I'll tell you then. But you have to promise me 3 things first. 1, not to regret it, no matter what I tell you. 2, not to tell it to anyone. 3, not to tell anyone I told you. I gulped firmly and nodded. Tomitake made an exaggerated expression of distress, gave a dry, vague smile and lit a cigarette. Please tell me, who is putting this curse on people? Who is it who's deciding who gets cursed? And after I said that, I finally realised why I wanted to know. And that, folks, I think is an excellent time to end it for the night on that bombshell, as I would say if I were Jeremy Clarkson, previous host of Top Gear. On that bombshell, we are going to end things off here. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. It is very much appreciated, and I do hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for the resub, Pixie. It is very much appreciated, and I do apologise for all the internet issues going on. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. I will be streaming Dishonored this Saturday. We're going to be starting Dishonored 2. It looks so far like we're going to be playing as Emily, but you can vote on Twitter. It's twitter.com/MochiInvasion. Twitter.com/MochiStreams to vote. Don't look at Mochi Invasion, it's my old Twitter account that I no longer use. So it's twitch.com/MochiStreams. Then on Sunday it'll be Destiny 2, where we are going to be starting the Season of the Drifter. No, we're not going to be starting even before that, Season of the Forge. Whoops. Then on Tuesday it'll be Final Fantasy XIV, where we are going to be continuing through the story of Shadowbringers on our shard. When we left off last week, we had just been invaded by Yomuran forces, so it's time to push back at them. And then finally next Thursday will be more Higurashi When They Cry Tatarigoroshi, where we're coming up to the festival pretty soon, and I reckon shit's about to go down. Either way, take care everybody, have a wonderful evening, do look after yourselves, be excellent to each other, and keep safe, and I shall see you guys on Saturday.